Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric, and this is the Red Devil Experience. We're here live. Patrick Dorgu has landed. Patrick Dorgu is here. Sorry for the hesitation, YouTube acting up, but yes, Patrick Dorgu is here. We are cool as a cucumber today. We got a lot of things we need to talk about actually today. It's not just a Patrick Dorgu show. We're gonna do the Patrick Dorgu update. We signed a kid from Arsenal that we're gonna get into that. We got stories around Alejandro Garnacho. We need to get into that. We have stories around Casemiro. We need to get into that. And last but not least, I think we need to have a very big discussion about Ruben Amorim, Marcus Rashford, and Rasmus Højlund. So it's going to be a jam-packed show. And before we get into that, please smash the like button because it helps the channel grow. And if you don't do it for the channel and you don't do it for me, then do it for Patrick Dorgu coming to Manchester United and Amorim getting his first signing at the very least. But if you do smash the like button for us, thank you very much because it does help the channel grow. It does help us immensely, so we greatly appreciate that. And if you're new and you enjoy the content and you enjoy our community and our members and our wonderful discussions that we have, then subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live show. We go live weekly. We're live after every match doing a Red Devil recap. And we are live throughout the week as well doing topical stuff such as the news, etc., opinion pieces. But without further ado, let's get into the show. And this is pretty much the only tweet you need. Patrick Dorgu to Manchester United. Here we go. As you probably already know, now I'm a poet. In place with Lecce, documents to be checked in the next 24 hours from Fabrizio Romano, saying fee will be 30 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. Not guaranteed. Okay. Long-term contract agreed days ago with the player and first signing for Ruben Amorim. Now, let's just do the conversion rate because I don't know why, but all the journalists decide that they want to operate in euros. I think they're doing it to confuse people, which I don't really like because it's a form of deception. I don't know what they're doing it. Fabrizio, all right, he's Italian, he uses the euros, but Manchester United, if you're talking about Manchester United operate in pounds. The fee should be in pounds. So let's do the conversion rate for everybody. The fee will be 25.1 million pounds plus 4.1 million in not guaranteed add-ons, which is actually a little bit of a curveball there because everybody was kind of expecting, guaranteed add-ons. But they're not guaranteed. I believe that means that they're add-ons based on performance, or something like that. I don't really know why that's being worded like that. They're trying to confuse me, but I'm pretty sure maybe that means that it's not necessarily guaranteed because you have to hit a certain threshold. Maybe it has to do with Manchester United being in the Champions League or something like that. I'm not really sure. We didn't get a further update on details as to what that means. But besides the point, I think we should be saying the fee, good fee. I think it's a fair price. I think it's a decent price. I don't think it's a bad price. There was a lot of talk over the past few days that, that we're paying too much, and there was a lot of anger about the price, and I didn't really understand it because when you break down the price, when you break down the transfer as for what it is, right? We're paying 20. What was the fee again? 25 million. 25 million in pounds, right? Over a 5-year deal. That's 5 million. That's 5 million pounds a year. The add-ons aren't guaranteed. We're not going to include those. We're going to go with the base fee, because that's how it should be done until those add-ons hit. That's when you start counting them into the total package. But 5 million pounds a year is nothing for a 20-year-old. that is considered to have very good potential. You know, he's not some random bum. He's a young kid that is highly talked about in a left wing back position, which is a position we needed. He's one that can possibly, if he is successful, be at Manchester United for the next 10 years. He can be a long-term solution to the left-hand side. We need replacements for the left-hand side. If in 3 years' time, 3 seasons' time, he's flopped and it doesn't seem to work out, well, that's about 15 million that we've paid for him so far in that deal, right? That's 15 million pounds. If he flops, you can't tell me you can't sell a 23-year-old left wing back that's been playing in the Premier League for 3 seasons for at least 15 million pounds to recoup the money that we spent. So I think it's a good deal. There was a lot of commotion going on about the money. I don't really understand it. But I think it's a good deal. And I think one of the things is that you can say, criticize Ineos about this and that and whatever you want. That's fine. And, I get it. It makes sense. But I think, let's be fair and let's give them credit as well. We criticized them, so let's give them credit as well. I think all of the transfers that they have done, transfers in so far, have been very good. They're good fees. We've paid good wages. It has certainly been a nice change from what we've done in the past. This deal in the past, we would have paid well over 60 million for this kid. 110% plus add-ons. So, I really do think that it's not all bad with Ineos. It ain't all good. There's some things that are positive, some things are negative, but we should give them credit where it's due and give them criticism where it is. But what is the chat saying? How is the chat feeling? What do you guys think about Dorgu? Lyle started off the show by saying, there we land. Absolutely. Richard is here. Lions is here as well. Evening, Richard. Evening, Lyle. Evening, Lions. Grace says, man's got shades on. Where's the party? Diddy's house. Nah, Diddy's in jail. Diddy's in jail. Ain't nobody in Diddy's house right now. Yes, I put the shades on as a prop. I just thought we got to be a little bit cool for Ruben Amorim's first signing today. So, Lion says, so is this kid going to win us the Europa Cup? No. And the reason why I say that is because no one player, I know you're being, a little, I know you're saying that jokingly, but no one player is going to win us anything. Hopefully he slots into the team and is exactly a good profile of player that we need, and gets the job done and can be here for as I already said, the next, he could be here for the next 10 years. If he's really that good, and that is the potential with this signing. I watched a little bit of the Lecce game last time to scope him out. He looked pretty decent. Obviously I'm gonna reserve my judgment for what he is and what his level is until we see him playing at least a few matches in the Manchester United kid. So Richard says, I was highly talked about. Nothing to do with football. I was just highly talked about. Well, that's always good. It's always a good feeling when you were highly talked about. It doesn't matter where it is. And Lyle with the super chat says, here we go. Welcome, Dorgu. Finally, a left wing back / left back. And absolutely. And thank you for the contribution as well to the channel, Lyle. Yes, finally, a left wing back. Finally, we're making progress. Slowly but surely, we're making progress. I mean, let's see what we're gonna do. I assume we're probably gonna try and move on Malacia. I think Luke Shaw is one that they want to move on, but how you gonna convince a team to make a bid for him is going to be interesting, but obviously those things aren't going to happen till the summer. Shaw's not going anywhere. Malacia ain't going anywhere right now. And Yeah, you know, we just got to see. We got to see where things go. But let's take it day by day, action by action. Today is a positive day for Manchester United. We got Ruben Amorim's first signing. I think it's fair to say now that the Ruben Amorim era has actually, for real, this time officially started. I think that's fair, since he's actually gotten in a signing that he wanted. You know, let's not make any let's make no mistakes. He wanted this player. The club went for him. This player was not on Manchester United's radar kind of prior to I mean, maybe it was on the radar, but it wasn't of super interest until Ruben Amorim came about. And obviously Ruben Amorim spoke about how he was in discussions with, you know, Jason Wilcox, etc., at around December time, discussing, you know, what potential transfers they may be able to do, and Dorgu was one of them, and he is here. So very, very good. Lion says a bloody goal scorer might win us the cup. Well, that is true, but I think Lions, what it is what I've been banging on about for I don't know how many months it's been right now. Let's build the squad. Let's build the squad. I hope this kid is one that is a hard worker, that is hungry, that, you know, is gonna bleed and pretty much die, not literally but metaphorically, on the pitch, for the club, and to put in good performances. I hope he replicates something like Amad Diallo in a certain way. You know, if we ask you to play center back, you play center back the damn best you can. You put your body on the line. You do what you have to do to help the team, to help your teammates get wins and perform well. And this is the profile of player that I'm looking at, that I want Ineos to bring in, because I think it's important to the building of the squad. I think we need to get that sort of mix correct. Good mentality, good attitude, some skill in there, passion, hunger, young, you got legs, all of it together needs to be mixed together. So I hope this is what he is. And we're gonna find out now, because he's here. And you know, well, he's not here yet, according to Romano. Patrick Dorgu's travel to England is being planned. Obviously, he's still got to do the medical. It's still got to be officially confirmed by the club and announced and all that jazz. But yeah, we have the here we go. So he's ours, and all that other stuff that comes with the signings will come soon. So Gray says Dorgu will be a great backup to Delo. Grace never misses a beat, never misses a step. I hope not. Only for the fact of, because I want Delo playing on the right. So you know, yeah, but we want Delo on the right. Delo is clearly better on the right. I was wrong. I thought, you know, Delo could play on the left. I mean, technically, he could still kind of play on the left if we need him emergency-wise. But he clearly isn't as good on the left as he is on the right. So I was wrong about that. So I want my Diego Delo. Well, not my Diego Delo. I want Grace's Diego Delo back on the right-hand side. Let him be comfortable. Let him perform well. It's important. It's important to the team. And we still believe in him. He's a good player. He's there, you know, I think the fan base gets carried away on too much individualism sometimes. Sure, give them the criticism that they need, but don't get too carried away. Some of the fan base gets too carried away singling out a player and basically putting all the blame and all the troubles of Manchester United on one player when they're not performing well. And it's like, well, I could literally point out 5 or 6 other players that are on the pitch at the same time as this player that you're criticizing, and they ain't doing anything either. So I think you're getting a little, people get a little carried away there, but you know, it is what it is. And Richard says, yeah, Dorgu in, Delo out, or he can be the kit man. Well, there's always that option as well, you know. Lion says, surely we can't move Malacia and Sean. Then we're back to having just one left back. Well, not in January, but we're gonna. But I certainly Shaw has to go. I mean, Shaw Shaw basically doesn't exist in my mind. The way I view Shaw, with his availability, Shaw doesn't exist as an option. He's not real. You know, he's a fabrication of your imagination. You can't use him. He's not helpful. So Shaw is already not part of the team anymore in my mind. Because he just isn't. And then you have Malacia. So we have two technically, and Malacia doesn't seem like he fits that role. Particularly the best. But you know, he will do for the remaining of the season. I mean, but I think we should be aiming to kind of replace him. Because I just don't think his level is high enough. And we should probably move him on, and we should move Shaw on, and we should be getting in another left back. Which is why, again, I'm not against, you know, a lot of people were getting very angry at the club, at Ineos, because they didn't want the club to spend this money on Dorgu. They were saying that we can spend basically half on getting Alvaro Fernandez back. Many people want Alvaro Fernandez back. They don't understand why the club got rid of him in the first place, and they think it was the wrong decision and it was a bad decision. And there was even some United fans hoping that this Dorgu deal fell through just so the club would be forced to go back in for Alvaro and bring him back. I still hold the opinion, and I could be wrong, but I just feel like there is a good possibility that because we have the buyback clause, we don't need to force Alvaro to come back at this instant. There was Ruben Amorim pushed for Dorgu. He wanted Dorgu. There was you know, obviously discussions, and there was talk that let them know that there is a possibility for this deal. They obviously had the finances to do this deal. So why wouldn't you sign Dorgu, get the player in that you don't have anything in, that has interest in him? Get him in first so we don't lose him, or so that a bidding war doesn't incur, because in the summer teams have more money and there'll be more interest, and maybe there'll be more of a fight in the summer for him. Whereas right now, yeah, there is interest, but there wasn't clubs really serious in going in on him at this current moment. So why don't you get Dorgu in? And, you know, let's go to the summer. Let's see what happens with the finances. Let's see where we finish. Let's see if we get into Europe in some sort of aspect. Let's see if we can do some sales. And let's see what the financial standpoint is of Manchester United. And we could always bring Alvaro literally the last day of the transfer window if we really have to. We could bring him the first day, but we can do that deal whenever. So, you know, for me, I would say you get to the summer, you find out how to get rid of Shaw, which I don't know, but if they figure that out, they're gonna deserve credit, because I think that's gonna be a hard sell. You get rid of Malacia, which I think is obviously easier, and I think it's doable. So you get rid of Malacia, you get some type of a transfer fee for him, whatever it is. I don't know what you would value Malacia at right now. I certainly don't have a valuation for him, but and you bring back Alvaro. And whatever you get from that you can possibly get from Shaw, and Malacia together, would probably, you would have to say, at least cover the fee for Alvaro. And then you have your two left wing backs, and you're good. They're both young, they're both here for the future, both good potential, both hungry. And I think that slot is sorted for the next, you know, few years at the very least, if not longer. So you know, what else are you guys saying here? Lyle says Shaw Malacia will most likely move on in the summer. I don't know what you wrote. There's officially a United player, and then we will have two left backs. Oh, Leon. Okay, Leon. Whatever you want to say. Richard says, I would keep Mazuari on the right. Let's use our best players. No, I mean, listen. I actually think, Richard, for right now, in this current moment with the depth that we have, we probably maybe can and should do a little bit of rotation in that yeah, obviously we want Maz on the right because Maz has been good all season, and Maz has been playing very well, and that's the position that he's kind of deserves to be in, right? And so yeah, play him on the right. I'm not saying take him out. Let Delo and Maz battle it out for the right. But also, I think you could do some good rotation in terms of that. If you really need to, you could start Delo on the right, and you could play Maz as a center back like he was playing for a few games here and there. I think he did well in that position as well, because I think we might still be a little bit light in the center back position. Obviously, Lindelof is coming back from injury, so maybe you don't necessarily have to do that if he stays fit. But I think you could swap around a numerous amounts of players, which isn't a bad thing. The more options we have, the better. The more competition, the more high quality players we have fighting for a spot, the better, the more competitive our squad should be. So I'm not against it in any way. Gray says Delo is best everywhere, but Dorgu needs to learn to shine his boots while he learns the position. Lyle says we are drastically dropping the average age of the squad, and you are right. And little by little, obviously these things are going to take time, but so far, and there was a list, and I want to find the list, and I want to bring the list up so we could go through it together. And unfortunately, actually, I know where the list is. I'll tell you exactly where the list is. Let me just find it, and we'll pull it up. And unfortunately, it's going to be in bloody, euros. It's gonna be in bloody euros. Because this is what they're doing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. There's the Twitter accounts that run transfer news are putting the fees in euros. Journalists are switching from euros to pounds to try and confuse people. Sky Sports puts it in pounds, then they put it in euros. I mean, I don't understand why they need to be deceptive to people. I don't understand why they need to trick people. I don't know why they can't just be upfront with people. But that's why we're here, because we set the story straight amongst others. Shout out to Terry Flewers and other people out there. But Terry's very good with that stuff. He obviously has a background in finance. He worked in the banking industry before he started the Football Terrace. And he's very good with the financial aspects, calling the bullshit out. And I respect him for that. I've been following him for quite some time. So he's very good with that. But, let's just talk about the transfers we've done so far. And there's some argument here, and they're not 100% perfect, but Manchester United in the transfer market under Ineos, Joshua Zirkzee, we paid 42.5 million euros. Lenny Yoro, we paid 50 million euros. Mazawari, we paid 15 million euros. Delit, we paid 45 million euros. Ugarte, we paid 50 million euros. And Patrick Dorgu, 30 million euros, which is obviously all lower in pounds. So they're not, I know 50 sounds like whoa, and you say 50 for euro, but it's actually lower in pounds. So I'm not going to convert all of them. But listen, when you look at that, when you look at that, now you might be, you might have the opinion, you might be a little bit unhappy and say, well, 50 million euros for Euro, he's 18, that's sort of kind of high. And 42.5 million for Zirkzee might have been kind of high because he might not seem to be that good. Listen, fair enough. But the bigger picture, look at the fees that we're paying. Look at the age of the players that we're getting in. Look at the profile of the players that we're getting in. Look at the wages we're paying. And you take that list of 6 players that Ineos have brung in, and you compare that to the last 6 signings we did prior to Ineos that Ineos didn't make the year before Ineos came in. You look at the last 6 signings that the previous regime did, and it is totally different, completely different. We haven't paid over 50 yet, which is a very good indication, because that's something that I think that's coming probably from Barada. That's a little bit of a Manchester City line, But Manchester City, maybe now they're paying a little bit. They did the 100 million for Grealish, but there was quite a good period of time where they signed a numerous amounts of players, more than 2 handfuls of players, and they didn't pay over 50 million for any one of those players. And also the wages were low, so you could see the indication is trending there, which is a very good sign. It is encouraging, and again, the fan base needs to be fair. If you want to moan, if you want to complain, if you want to criticize, you're allowed to. Go ahead. Try and be as factual as possible. Try and, be as clear as to why and what you have a problem with. Do it. Especially if there's grounds for it and, it makes sense. But the fan base needs to be fair, because you attack Ineos because you don't like that they raised the ticket prices. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. Okay, criticize them for it. You don't like that they're cutting money to charities. Fair enough. Makes sense. It's not a positive thing. Criticize them for it. But give them credit for the transfers in. I think they deserve it. This is their second window. We've actually done a piece of business in January, and we have potentially 5 good signings in the summer window. I would say 4, question mark over the 5th, but it is what it is. And now we have Dorgu, who is young, potential, and can become deemed as a very, very good signing for United. We got to wait and see. But yeah, I think they deserve credit for it. And good point by Lyle. Lions saying, honestly, I've never heard of Dorgu, so I will keep my excitement intact for now. Well, fair enough. Neither have I, really. I've already admitted and already said. I told you guys this a long time ago. I'm gonna pretend to know a player that I don't know. I didn't hear of his name until he started getting talked about at Manchester United. I watched the one game, but I'm not going to judge him off that, because, how do you judge a player off of one game? You end up with Bebe. And I don't even think that was one game. I think Sir Alex watched one clip. I think he watched like a 5-minute video or something, and he signed him. Yeah, but I don't think that's fair to do that anyway. But I just wanted to go scope it out and see kind of, what he's like in a 90-minute match. Which he seems like, there's something there for sure. I could see, why we're signing him or why there was interest in him. But again, I'm going to reserve judgment till he puts on the United kit, plays in Premier League matches, plays with our team, plays with the players we have, goes into the system, and then we'll start really judging him, going forward. Plus, young kid getting signed middle of the season, Manchester United not in a great period per se, not in a great position. So for me, it's kind of a free pass for him. At least, from this period to the end of the season. And then I slowly raise my expectations as time goes on, like I do with every other player. So fair enough. Lyle says Alvaro buyback clause expires in the summer. It does. But exactly when in the summer? Because that is going to make for an interesting it's going to make for an interesting thing, because I would like to know, Lyle, if you could find out, so I could make a point here, or I could make a point the other way. It depends. If you could find out what the date is, even if it's just a month, but the day would help, because now I'm thinking, when you mention that, so if it expires after, June 30th for the PSR, where it resets the financials and all that, then that's going to have some sort of an implication. And maybe, that means that we'll be more in the clear. If it expires before that, then that will have maybe opposite implications, and then maybe we don't end up doing that deal, or vice versa. Or maybe we're forced to do it, but maybe we can't do it because of financials. So, let's figure that out. That would be good. Lion says we still need a replacement for Rashi. We do. But Rashi still needs to leave. So, and the thing is, you know what? We have a story about this. I'm going to bring this in very soon. I have a thought about the replacement for Rashi, and it's not necessarily, maybe you would say a direct replacement in an aspect, but I think there is, potentially, I think we would deem it as a temporary replacement, which I'm going to explain why I'm not completely against it, even though it's not exactly what I want. But we'll get into that in a couple minutes. And let me get to the rest of the chat. Mazawari at right center back, Ahmad at right wing back was the best option. Yeah, maybe they performed the best at like that. I do remember, you know, Maz was playing very good there, and Ahmad was playing good at that time as well. I certainly think that, you know, we have some pieces that we can kind of switch around back there. For sure. And there's some options, and that's why I like the system of Amorim, because it's very interchangeable. You can take pieces and just move them around. Some is more effective than others, obviously, but I still think that, you know, when the team is in a better spot, you can really interchange and switch it up when you need to. Tactical reasons or whatever it is, maybe, you know, managing injuries, minutes, whatever it is. So yeah. Richard says heaven is literally coming to OT. Yes, that is the next update. Lion says, or is it Dorgu on the left, Delo on the right, and Maz in the 10? I still can't get over that. You know, I still can't get over that. I mean, if I was a journalist, I think they asked him anyway, but not even if I was a journalist. If I saw Erik ten Hag on the street, I would only ask him, let's just be real, and, you know, there's no cameras, there's no nothing. Please explain to me what possessed you to play Mazawari as the 10. Like, because I still don't understand. I'm pretty sure they asked him about it, and I'm pretty sure he gave a response, and I still didn't understand. So, that to me was, you know, it was bad. It was bad, but I laugh about it now because that's in the past, and we can laugh about it. Lyle says they use euros to make the figure seem larger. This is what I'm saying, deception. And I don't know why they're doing that. They don't need to deceive people. They don't need to do this thing. Why? Just be honest with people. Be upfront. Stop trying to trick people. Stop trying to cause a ruckus. You know, stop trying to, you know, be upfront with people. Manchester United operate in pounds. The deals should be in pounds. And you know what it is too, because it's not even like they come with the excuse of just like, oh, you know, euros, we use euros, because they're literally switching back and forth. Like, they are trying to confuse people and make people pissed that the deal went from 25 million pounds to 30 million euros. So that people see it and just go 25, 30. Oh, United are paying, we're paying more now. It's like, well, okay. You know, on one point, people should probably wake up a little bit and pay attention to some more details. But at the same time, they shouldn't be doing that. I don't like that stuff. I don't like that stuff at all. And we call it out when we need to call it out, because that's what you should do. As a society as a whole. We need to bring back shaming. I believe it. We need to bring back shaming for absolutely shameful and disgraceful things. You know, you don't have to... Shame is not abuse. It's two different things. You don't need to abuse people, but you can shame them for the bad things that they've done. I think we should be doing that. And we would see a large correction of things going on in the world, I believe. But that's a different topic for a different stream at a different time. We're getting carried away. Lion says, so when is he supposed to come to United? Well, the update that we had here from Fabrizio is that travel to England is being planned. So I guess once they plan it, it should be fairly soon. We'll probably get an update from Fabrizio, if not now, probably, you know, in a few hours from now, saying that Dorgu is on his way. You know, he might arrive tomorrow. Maybe he doesn't fly tonight. in the wee early hours of the morning. I would assume something like that. So if he doesn't fly tonight, if he doesn't arrive tonight, then he'll arrive tomorrow morning. So, Richard said Ralph Rangnick set for Dortmund job, so maybe he will take Rashford. Is he really? I didn't see that, but that's interesting. And I see what you did there. And if that happens, we're fucked. There ain't no way in hell Rashford gonna end up at Dortmund if Ralph Rangnick is there. So let's kind of hope not. Best scenario would be Eric Ten Hag to go to Borussia Dortmund, and Marcus Rashford will be there before Eric Ten Hag gets there. Maybe not from Rashford's side, but from Eric Ten Hag's side for sure. Lyle has come through with the update, and this is why Lyle is one of the legends. Says United's buyback option on Alvaro is up to 2026 summer window. The 2026 deadline was not communicated when this sale was completed. Some suggest it's valid for the full window. So we actually have a whole nother year on it, is what you're saying, Lyle. Did I read that correctly? That so it's not summer 2025, it's actually summer 2026. So we actually have a year and a half left to do that deal. So all right. Which is actually goes back into my original point of there's no rush to do that deal. We can let that cook, we can let him develop more if we really need to. And if we need to figure out the finances, then we can manage to figure out the finances because we're not in a rush right now. So it is summer 2026. ESPN are liars. Wait. I skipped ahead. Grace said we need to bring back bullying for these players if they play crap. Yeah. Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, not necessarily bullying, but like, you know, call them out. Call them out. Why not? You call them out. The clause is valid for 2 windows. Wait, I missed Grace's thing. United have an option to re-sign Fernandez for 18 million euros. She's done it again. 18.9 million, which is valid until the January window of 2026. Yeah, I'm seeing 2026. All right, so 2026. So we're not really in, we don't really need to rush it. We're good. We're good. I mean, the fans obviously want to rush it because they want him back. I'm one of them. I want him tomorrow. But from the club standpoint, you know, listen, get Dorgu in. You know, we'll let that thing get close to Alvaro. And we'll figure it out because we have some other priorities that we need to spend some money on as well. So let's see what we can do with Luke Shaw. Let's see what we can do with Malacia. If we move both of them on, we could bring Alvaro back. Bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. So yeah, thank you guys for that, Grace and Lyle, for giving us those details. Appreciate it very much. That's why you are great chat members. Lion says Rangnick is another one who we never should have gotten rid of. He should have moved upstairs like what was agreed. Absolutely 100%. I mean, I'm still, I still feel, I don't even know what the word is. I still feel disgraced, by what the club did to Ralph Rangnick. I still feel, I still feel like there are United fans out there, that hated Ralph Rangnick for what he was as the interim manager. And I never understood that point because it was like, it was always known and it was always confirmed that Ralph Rangnick was taking over as interim to assess the squad, and because Manchester United had no other options in terms of being able to bring in a permanent manager at that time. So all they decided was Ralph Rangnick could take it over. At the same time, he's going to assess the squad. He's going to be absolutely hands-on. He sees him in training. He's gonna you know, be there with them on match days. He's gonna get the full scope, and then when we get to the summer, he will go upstairs as a consultant and tell us exactly who we need to sell, who we need to buy to transform the squad. And that was his main job. And there are United fans out there that will that say that he needed to be sacked because he was a shit manager. And I was like, but he was never supposed to be the manager, so why are you judging him as the manager? Being a manager and managing a football team or a squad of players is different than building a squad. You can be an expert at building a squad and you could be a shit manager. That's why they're two different positions. And I just never understood that. So I always feel like, you know, it was a disgrace what they did to him. A disgrace by the club because they just weren't serious. He obviously, you know, even if you go back to his quotes and you look at, not the quotes about how shit the club was or whatever, but if you just look at some of the players he named that were available in January, all of them were really good players. All of them we could have used. One of them was Julian Alvarez, who ended up at City. Now he's at Atletico Madrid. But I mean, I thought he was a pretty good player. We could have used him. Ended up at City. Now he's gone from City, but you know there was a couple other ones I can't remember their names. But yeah, you know, just the club being disgraceful and incompetent as they were. But yeah. Lyle says Benfica are going to push his larger release clause, which is 40 million in euros, says Lyle. But they are forgetting United have a large sell-on clause too. So either way, we are good with Alvaro either way. Yes. I think they did a very good job on that deal where they have secured us. And they've put us in a good position in that deal that has given us a lot of power. And it puts us in a good position to get some money as well if we choose not to do it. So that was a good deal as well, I think. Even though I wouldn't have sold him and I didn't want to sell him and I want him back at the club, just even the details of that deal I think was very good in the manner that they put it out. And so we certainly weren't doing deals like that you know, pre-Ineos. So what the man did in football is nearly second to none. And Lion says tactically, I mean, yes. And Lion says, I saw a report that Ranić was not happy with the Glazers setup. Once he becomes a consultant, he would have worked well. Now with the news, well, they like threw him out of the club. You know, they threw him out of the club, and I actually think that there might probably be some truth to that, which is why towards the end, you know, he came out just absolutely obliterating every aspect of Manchester United. I think it might have came down to the point where he was like, you know, I kind of actually probably don't even want to be here because this setup is absolutely just fucked, and you know, it's not serious. So let them sack me, let me get paid, and let me get out of here. Which I you know, who's gonna blame him? At that point, when you have to work with the Glazers and their greed and their incompetence on a football level. So Grace saying, would you rather a striker or a 10 if we could only get one? The 10. The 10 for sure. You guys saying striker, Lions a striker, Lions a striker. But United will likely wait until the summer for a striker. Striker with 30 goals a season. Now, I understand why you guys say that, and I'm not... I want the 10 because I think we need help creating more. I want the striker in the summer, obviously, not for January, in the summer. I do want a striker. I would like Gaio Perez or, you know, somebody elite. I do see the need for it. Right, and I understand that. And it is tough because I think we really do need that striker. But at the same time, I can't help but feel and think like, you know, I see the two that we have, and I'm like, okay, you could argue about their levels and aspects of their game, but I'm just like we. Before them, we didn't create chances. We don't create enough chances. We don't create chances for them. We don't create enough chances in general as a team attacking wise. And I just kind of think like you're gonna get the main man striker, pay all that money, and we still didn't figure out, or we don't have the tools, or we don't have the correct players that create enough good chances for the strikers. So I almost see it as kind of backwards. You know, I kind of see it a little bit backwards. Now, ideally, let's get the striker and let's get a 10. Let's get them both. And let's get rolling. I'm there for that. You know, let's do that. But I don't know. You know. And Lion says, you know, if it's the summer, then we're going for both. And Grace says, I don't think we will even break even on Højlund if we sell him, and Xerxes has only been here a year. Well, no, we won't break even on Højlund. Again, you know, Højlund was done pre-Ineos, so we can't put it on them. And you know, they did overpay in that. I'm not saying because like I'm saying Rasmus Højlund is absolutely shit, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they probably could have paid lower. They paid for potential, and they overpaid for the potential. And you know, I do believe that they could have paid a much lower, not a much lower fee, but a lower fee for sure. They could have knocked off a good 10, 15 million off that. But that is the incompetence of our former board and hierarchy. And so I'm not really, you know, I can't hold those prices over their heads. Anybody that came in pre-Ineos, because all the deals were bad for 12 years plus. I think let's talk about Rasmus now. You know, in the middle of the last match, and I talked about it a little bit in the Red Devil recap after the Fulham game. I got into a huge thing on online because one of the United aggregators put up a tweet talking about Rasmus Højlund didn't score in like 36 out of like 52 games for Manchester United or something like that. And I responded by saying, I mean, but if you look at how the team is playing right now, right? In what way do you expect him, Xerxes, or any other striker to score a goal? Because we're talking about goal scoring. And 87% of the replies were people started coming in and says, mate, his first touch is shit. He can't pass the ball, and all this. And they started talking about the link-up play. And I'm like, fair enough. Link-up play is an aspect of that position, but is not the main priority of that position, and it is not the be-all and end-all, and does not mean that just because you can do link-up play means that you are going to get more chances, because the team aspect and dynamic do not do enough. And my other piece to that was everybody's having a go at Rasmus, and I mean, he was awful that game. I'm not saying he wasn't, but you're having a go at Rasmus. You're talking about his hold-up play, and I said, please tell me what Bruno, what Ahmad, what Garnacho, or whoever else was there that has to do with build-up and attack. Please tell me what they did and what they were doing on the pitch that did anything to create any chances. Because we had one shot on target at like 70 minutes into the game. So, you know, we need to figure out how to create. You know, it's happening under Amorim. It's happened under Erik ten Hag. It's happened prior to Erik ten Hag. So this has been an issue at Manchester United. We need to figure this out. So I do think that we need some better creative players, or more creative players in more positions, and definitely that fit the system for that. But I just think it was crazy. Like, the replies I was getting, because the you know, it blew up. Like, it absolutely, the tweet blew up, and people were just losing their absolute shit on me, talking about stop defending him. And I'm like, well, first of all, well, I was having a conversation about goal scoring, and you're coming over here talking about first touches and you know, holding the ball up. And I'm like, I didn't mention that. I didn't say anything about that. I'm just talking about putting the fucking ball into the back of the net and what chances and you know, what he gets. Plus, I think for that match, like I already explained, there are some matches where we're going to play where it's just not Rasmus's game, because I think Rasmus is a guy that likes to run into the channels. He likes to break the line of the defense. He likes to run at the player, right, with the ball in his feet and have some space available to him. And I think he can score, but he needs to be in and around the box, for the most part, and get some crosses, good passes. Now, he has to work on his positioning. You know, he's not, it's not like he's a 30 goal a season player yet. He's obviously not there yet, but I do think that, like, if we play a little bit more to his strengths and not, you know, because in the Fulham match, I think we were playing to his weaknesses. We weren't playing to his strength. We were playing to his weaknesses. And that's why I was saying, well, obviously this is a game for Xerxes, because we need somebody to hold the ball up the way we're playing, our shape, the way we were pinned in, the long balls that we were doing. This was a game for Xerxes. It wasn't a game for Rasmus. Rasmus, that's not his strong suit. That's not his strengths. Those were his weaknesses. So it's not a game for him. But there's other matches where Rasmus is going to be able to excel. You know. And Lyle coming in with the Nkunku on loan is perfect, and that's what I was talking about before. But we got carried away in a good conversation. But I said that is something that we may do that is temporary. That I will take, but I might not necessarily, you know, really want. Richard says I would take Nkunku. And Lion says Nkunku, great idea. Let's take another injury-prone player from Chelsea. Well, there's something that goes into that. So we'll get to that right after I read these comments. We'll jump into that immediately. Lyle says Højlund needs competition and needs to work on his movement and hold-up play. He gets too close to defenders, and we can't find him, and he doesn't hold the ball up. I mean, yes, his hold-up play is not that great. And sometimes against certain teams, it's very bad because they're much better at putting the pressure on him and winning the ball over him. I mean, there was a few matches I do remember that, you know, I did compliment him. I think it was last season. I don't think it's been this season, but last season I do remember there was a numerous amounts of games where he was good at holding the ball up. He did very well to hold the ball up. He did well in link-up play. But like I said in the Red Devil recap, it seems like that just has evaporated from his game, which I find strange. So obviously that's not his strength. It's a weakness of his, and he does have to improve in it. I think he does have to work on his movement. I've been analyzing that a lot more when I've been watching him, and while I will say that he still does not get enough chances and not enough good chances are created for him, there are a couple times in matches where his positioning or the direction he decides to make the run at one of the posts or in the box isn't great. Ruben Amorim commented on this as well, saying that, you know, we're doing training, but we don't really have, we can't do the training that requires to have that sort of link up that we actually need between the striker and the rest of the team. And he's like, so what's going to happen is sometimes you're going to get the wrong runs, you're going to get the wrong decisions are going to happen. He was like, we obviously want to work on that, but he was like, we just don't have we don't have the time to be doing that sort of training. So let's see. You know, obviously we'll look to next season after a proper preseason. I mean, we'll look to next season after a proper preseason and see if that area improves. But yes. Grace says, why are we trying to use Højlund as a hold-up striker? I don't see Haaland dropping deep to link up to play at City. If we have more creativity around Højlund, we can just keep Højlund around the box. And this is kind of what I'm saying, Grace. Like, and Grace says, how many times has Haaland been quiet because the players behind him haven't created anything for him. Well, and that's what it is. Like Haaland does he relies on service. But if you give him the service, he scores the goals. And I think Rasmus is a little bit similar to that as well. And he's clearly obviously not a hold-up striker. I think there was a couple games he did all right in it, but again, it's not his strong suit. I would say Xerxes is a better hold-up striker than Rasmus is. But my a point that I didn't put out before either is that the people that were replying to me saying that he can't hold the ball up, he can't pass the ball, he has is a trampoline for a foot and all this nonsense. And I was like, very, very, very well. We put in Xerxes. Xerxes did better than Højlund and holding up the ball and hold up play. And what chances did Joshua Xerxes get from that hold up play that he was doing, that he improved, that Rasmus Højlund wasn't doing in the same match? What chances came out of that? None. But for Xerxes himself, none. So this is why I was confused by a good portion of the fan base. I was like, I don't know if you guys just have an agenda, you don't like him, you're being biased. I don't know what it is. Maybe they were just frustrated because the team was playing like shit and we were boring to watch, and it was halftime and people went on there to vent their frustrations and they were taking out on Erasmus. I don't know what it was, but I was like, a lot of you just aren't making sense. You're going off on tangents that I didn't bring up, which is why I don't like text. Because text gets decided, whatever the person reading it, they make it up in their mind what the tone is and what is the context, and then they start having their own conversations. So Richard says, well, maybe that's true, but then we need a better class of a player to enable him to do that. And Lion says, and then after one game, he gets injured, so we send him back. We would still be fudged. Don't get me wrong. I highly rate him in Germany. Well, let's move on to that stuff. So let's move on to that stuff because we have some topics we need to get through, and I want to check the internet as well. So Aiden Heaven, and I've already coined the name. I already have the name set up. If he becomes good, and he becomes, if he becomes an important part of the first team, and he becomes, a top player for Manchester United, forget Aid in Heaven. It's Made in Heaven. Made in Heaven. Made in Heaven has signed for Manchester United from Arsenal. We've snatched another young player from Arsenal. We had Cheeto, Obi Martin. Obi Martin? Yeah. And now we've signed Made in Heaven, beating Barcelona and Frankfurt to the 18-year-old signature. Made in Heaven is considered a first-team signing and will provide competition/cover for Lisandro Martinez, which I thought was maybe a stretch too far. I mean, obviously, you see this coming from Academy Scoop. I don't know Academy Scoop too much. They're the ones that have claimed this. I don't know much about him. Haven't really seen him play. I saw some clips. I've seen some Arsenal fans talking about him. But again, I've never really watched him play. So I'm going to reserve judgment. Now, if he is considered a first-team signing and he does provide competition and cover for Lisandro Martinez, I'm all here for it because I think we need, more competition and we need more depth in that area. And I hope he's a good one. So I like the youth signings. I'm excited to see what we got here. I'm excited to see if he develops into, maybe a world-class player. And I hope he does, because then we could hold it over Arsenal's head forever, just like we do with Robin van Persie, which I love. Because anytime, by the way, I have a little trick for you guys. If you're ever around Arsenal fan for any reason, in any capacity, and they're chatting shit, particularly probably about how Arsenal are where Arsenal are now and United are where we are now, all you have to do is, like, somewhere in the middle of the conversation, just weaving a way to bring in Robin Van Persie. Just, like they could be chatting shit to you about how great Arsenal is now and how shit United is, and be like, yeah, man, like I really miss having a striker like Robin Van Persie. Like, oh man, what a great player he was. He was a fantastic striker. And as soon as you say that, they shut their mouth and they have nothing to say because it burns their soul to a crisp that we took him and we won the Premier League immediately. So yeah, that's just a little tip and a little trick. If you're ever around some gunners and you need them to stop chatting and stop gooning, just bring up Robin Van Persie. They'll go real quiet real quick. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to acknowledge it. Yeah. So, but yeah, hopefully, this kid is good. I don't got too much to add on because I don't really know too much about him, but we bring it into the show and we do what we got to do. Richard says, no, we don't have to sell Garnacho to bring a loan in. Well, obviously, we obviously don't need to do that. Lion says, but will Chelsea do business with us if we don't allow Garner to go there? Yeah, why not? I mean, they're not gonna put a transfer ban on us, Lions, just because we don't sell them Garnacho. That would be kind of crazy. And they still have business that they want to do as well. Like they don't want him. So they're not gonna be like, oh, you're one of the only clubs that are interested in taking Nkunku on loan. Well, you didn't give us Garnacho, so you know what? We're actually gonna keep him here instead of loaning him, just to give you the middle finger. I mean, they're not gonna do that. Chelsea are gonna be like, all right, you want him on loan? Like, take him, like, because we obviously don't want him. Lyle says, I've seen those comments on AFTV. They have been left speechless. Plus, RVP talks United. And yeah, and he clearly, RVP clearly loves United more than Arsenal, which is hilarious because he spent a lot of his career at Arsenal and he was considered, one of their best players. Obviously, for that period, he was like almost like legendary status for them. And he obviously loves United because he came to United and we gave him the Premier League trophy, that something that he couldn't get at Arsenal. So yeah, he obviously loves us much more because we gave him, he gave us a fantastic striker and we gave him the Premier League trophy. So, mutual. We love each other. Lion says, let's go for Weghorst. I don't think he's loving it at Ajax. No. Never again. Please, God. Please, God, never again. But let's move on to Casemiro because we got updates about Casemiro. So Roma have expressed interest in signing Casemiro. His 370k pounds a week wages are an obstacle. There's an outside chance of a deal, but more likely he stays. And that's from Chris Wheeler. And at least he put the wages in pounds. But I'm sure Chris Wheeler tomorrow, I mean, it's not fair to say this, but I'm just being facetious because a bunch of the journalists are doing it. But I'm sure Chris Wheeler will probably put out an update on Casemiro and change the bloody fee, I mean the wage, to euros. And then he's going to send me to a right. He's going to send me into a right fit. I'm going to go bonkers. I've had enough of this nonsense. But continuing that update, Rob Dawson, ESPN, who are liars, according to Grace. But I don't particularly like ESPN too much. But the aggregators pull the news. I don't know if they do it for clicks or not, but sometimes our hands go into the aggregators. So they said Manchester United will listen to loan offers for Casemiro before Monday's transfer deadline. United are willing to pay a portion of Casemiro's wages to make the move happen. Well, I tell you what, in all honesty, we should probably be paying half because who the hell is going to pay 375k pounds for Casemiro, who's got no bloody legs? I don't know. I would offer to pay half because I just think that there's no way that anybody's gonna pay more than half. Which is obviously clearly, what this update is saying is that United will pay a portion, but a portion ain't half. So we want to pay like a quarter and have the other team pay 75, which is fair enough if they're able to do it. Yeah, I'll take that. I obviously want my team to pay less money, but I just don't think that anybody's actually going to be interested unless you pay half the wages. Because those wages are absolutely crazy, especially for players of his age and what's left of his career, So, yeah. And the third Kaze update is Ruben Amorim spoke on Casemiro's lack of game time, saying, "We understand that Casemiro has other things nowadays. The intelligence he has, the understanding the game, understanding where the ball is going to fall. But we're in a league that I can see, even in European competitions, the difference in intensity is big." Let's just pause right there. How do I do this? This section right here, yeah? This section, he's just said in many words that, yeah, he can read the game. He's an experienced player, but he don't got no legs, bruh. And I can't use him. I can't use him, bruv. I can't use him, bruv. He can't run. He's too slow. He gets burned. And I can't have that in my team, in my system, because we get exposed. I need a dude that knows how to run. Not knows how to run, that can run. Everybody knows how to run, except for babies. They're useless, aren't they, babies? What do they do? Nothing. Anyway, I'm getting on tangents here, but yeah, that paragraph right there, is basically all he had to say was he don't got legs, and I need somebody that can run. But obviously, he's the manager, and he needs to word his words, in a certain way or whatever, and manage the situation. So, but I'll be the translator. Next paragraph says, "And so I feel that this team also needs players with a very high intensity." Again, more about him not having legs. "And sometimes we don't have that, which is saying that we already don't have enough intensity and as a team in general, and then you're going to put in a player that don't got legs, so we have even less intensity." It says, "And sometimes we don't have that, and sometimes that difference in characteristic can lead one player or another to play," which is absolutely true. He then goes on to say, "Even the fact that the group has a certain characteristic as a group, I need some players in certain positions with a slightly different pace." Well, there you go. But we all know the quality Casemiro. Casemiro has one. We all know the quality Casemiro has and everything he won. So I have nothing to say about that. It's just a choice. And fair play. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. He's saying he don't got legs. I need to do with legs. I need it for the team. I need it for the aspect of the squad. I need it for my system. And it has nothing to do with Casemiro's, the rest of his ability. He just don't got legs. And I can't really use him. And I need to put in other players there that do have legs. He's won everything in his career. He's a quality player. But he just doesn't have legs, and I can't use that in my team. And there's nothing wrong with that. So fair play to him. Fair play to him. Yes, they call him Wild Workhorse. Wild Workhorse. Lyle says Kaze will definitely need to take a pay cut if he sees himself playing regular football. Oh, he knows that. Unless he ends up at Saudi Arabia. But I don't know if maybe he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Because I find it kind of hard to believe that there's very little interest from Saudi Arabia. Unless maybe he's kind of told them that he's not really interested, and then they're not willing to really give him that amount of money, because they got that money. They've been paying people to go there. So yeah. Richard says it's the stupid wages that are all the stumbling block. Absolutely. You know, the bad wages and the bad transfer fees are a large amount of a large percentage of the problems that Manchester United are currently facing at this time. You know, it's even a player like let's go back to Rasmus for a second. Even a player like Rasmus that we spent that money on. He's been here for 2 seasons. If we sold him now, we can't recoup that fee. I don't know what you would sell him for, but let's just say we sold him for half, right? We can't even actually do that because that would, if we did that, we would be so fucked by PSR that we would get relegated. Because we would get a points deduction for sure, and they would put us at the bottom of the table. We would go below Southampton. 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 We would go below Southampton. We would actually get relegated from the points deduction by doing that sort of deal. So and you know, I'm just using Rasmus as an example, but there's so many other worse deals than that. You know, Anthony is certainly one. That's probably why they're loaning him out. That and probably a lack of interest, but you know, you got to loan Anthony out. You got to try and increase his image a little bit as a footballer. Maybe he plays good, and then maybe people are willing to pay maybe more than, you know, the minor contact that they had and inquiry that they had about Anthony, if there was any at all. But then we have other things like, you know, Marcus Rashford certainly is a player that people are reluctant to do a deal for him strictly because of the wages. I think if Marcus Rashford's wages was like 200K a week, there would be actual transfer bids for him. But at the same time, I don't know, because there hasn't been as many loan offers, and probably because of the wages as well. But it has to be because of the wages. I mean, it's too much money, so they probably don't even want to. They probably just look at it as an expensive loan, and there's no point in doing it. So, and plus he hasn't been good for 2 years, so it's not an enticing thing. But yes, you know, there's just aspects like certain players, the wages, way too high, screwing us there. You know, other aspects, we paid way too much money and overpaid way too much. And we get screwed, you know, if we sell them for a certain price for PSR wise, which you can't really afford at the current moment. So, you know, it's all bad. It's all bad. Lyle says, talking wages, did you see the Anthony reveal? Wow, that was a news bomb. Yeah, that might have been one of the worst. That might have been one of the worst reveals I've ever seen. I had so many questions that I didn't really want the answer to, but I just had so many questions. And I was like, I don't think I actually want the answers to these questions, but I have so many questions on that reveal. So yeah, Lion says Kaze has won everything. If I were him, I would do a Winston Bogarde, I don't even know who that is, and sit back, relax, then laugh all the way to the bank. Well, maybe that's what he is doing as well. You know, maybe he's not. You know, listen, at the same point, I mean, he's probably not even really looking to go anywhere, right? I mean, he doesn't really have to. You know, there's two ways. There's two ways you could look at it. It depends on the player. It depends on how they feel. It also probably depends on, you know, a little bit of what kind of human being they are, but maybe the mental situation of the player. Is Cassie looking at it like, you know, my career's almost done. I'm getting paid this wage. I ain't gonna get this money after this, so let me just collect it. You know, and it is what it is. I've won everything. It don't really matter. You know, or he could, you know, the other aspect of that would be, you know, my career's almost done. I'm not going to be able to play much longer. I want to play as much as possible from now until, you know, I'm no longer pretty much able to play. And I'm not playing anymore. It's been like 14 games since I've been used. And I need to go somewhere to play because I want to play as many matches as I can before I retire, which is, coming. It's not far away. So it's one of those two aspects. So, but again, that's up to their discretion. It's their life, it's their career. They can handle it how they want. I'm not going to judge on that. Richard says, yeah, we can't do that in this window. That would destroy the FFP. Well, we would be totally fucked. I mean, even in the summer to a certain degree. And maybe that's why we haven't really, maybe that's why we really haven't pushed these players out, because they don't want to admit that, like, hey, we actually can't sell Anthony, because if we take a 60 million pound loss on Anthony, we will literally get hit by like FFP PSR, and we will be fucked. So they're not going to admit that to us, and we obviously can't see like the books, right? We just get like the little financial reports, but that don't tell you the whole story. Ineos got to see, and this is why I'm questioning it as well, because remember when Ineos took over, they had to look at everything, at all financials. They were gained access to every single detail, so they can actually see the full story, and they know the full story of Manchester United's financial situations, which is maybe why you see Ineos doing what Ineos are doing, because when they looked at those financials, it might be much worse than they actually let us know, because anything that really comes out from a financial aspect is either leaked out or it's put out by the club for to a certain extent. So, that's another point that just popped up into my head. Maybe our financial situation is actually even worse than it's being reported, and this is why Ineos are doing the things they're doing. This is why they looked at the outs and they were trying to get some interest, but they're not just taking any deal. They tried to get some interest from Marcus Rashford. There wasn't really any. They would try to get some interest for Casemiro in the summer. There wasn't really any. And they didn't say, well, just take Casemiro for 10 million, or, take Rashford for 10 million, because they know the full picture of the financial aspect, and they're like, yeah, we can't do that. Rashford, we need as much money as possible, because that's going to help settle the PSR on the other side and free up a lot of money. So we can't just get rid of him for 15 million. We can't get rid of Cass for this amount of money, because we paid, whatever it is, and that's going to hurt us. And so maybe that there's a little bit of that going on as well. So, Lion says, I did not see the reveal. What was it? I mean, you just, after the show, because I don't even know how to explain it to you, but it just wasn't a good quality. I think they had like two or three different reveals, but the one that I saw was like Anthony wearing the kit, and then somebody was like videotaping, and then they had Anthony, like, they had pictures of Anthony, and they were holding it in front of the camera, and it was like him at some Brazilian club, I forgot where. Then it was like him at Ajax. Then it was like him at him for Brazil. Then it was like him at Manchester United. And then they take the last one away, and it's just like him in real life. And I'm just like, well, that was awful. But then there was another one where it was like some cryptic weird stuff, and there was like, I think because like their mascot has something to do with rabbits or something, so it was like some kind of weird thing with a weird setting, and there was like people dressed as rabbits and bunnies or whatever in like full bunny outfits, and I was like, I don't know what the hell was going on there. So you just got to go watch them. That's all I got to tell you. You just got to go find them after the show and go watch them and just see for yourself. So yeah. Richard says, I think they are also reluctant to do a deal for him because of his attitude. Rashford, you're saying? Yeah, it could very well be as well. And we're gonna get into that. I got some Rashford things that we need to talk about. So, and we'll do that very shortly. Lion says, I don't expect a big summer window, to be fair. That shit has been building up for 12 years. There's ways. I think, well, let's see what happens based off of Europe, because Europe will have a big implication. If we can win the Europa League and get into the Champions League, that's going to have big implications positively for us, which will open it up even further. But then we also have to see kind of the transfer business that's done, because I think if there are players that are sold, what fees are they, who they are, and you know what it is, because if it's a homegrown player, it's obviously going to be pure profit, which opens up a lot. It really does a lot. And the way I was looking into this, because I've been interested in this and I haven't been able to decipher, you can't get a 100% answer, because you need the full financial details of like the club aspect to actually calculate everything. But from my understanding, like, number one, signings, obviously amortization, you can spread the signing and the cost of the signing per year over the length of the contract. So Dorgu, for example, is why I was saying we're paying £5 million a year for Dorgu. Over a 5-year period, that's what we're paying. So each year, 5 million is being added to the club's profit and losses. Now, PSR, I believe PSR has like something like you can go negative about 120 million in 3 seasons. So you need to keep the club's losses under 120 million to not break PSR. FFP isn't really that big of a deal in terms of FFP is easier to kind of get around, and has other implications, but PSR mainly, and what restricts us from pretty much spending, you can do things to spread it out, and selling a player like Garnacho, for example, would probably, like, if you sold Garnacho for pure profit 60 and we were around the 120 million, so we were close, we were like very borderline to hitting the maximum of PSR. If you take that 60 per profit, it literally cuts it in half, which allows us to do like 4 or 5 deals. Well, it depends what the fees are, but you would be able to do much more deals, because you can sign 3 or 4 players if they're all around about 50 million. You sign them all to 5-year contracts, right? And that comes out to 10 million each 10 million a season each player. So for one season it would be 30 million or 40 million, and then it would be 30 million to 40 million for the next financial year and stuff like that. So those things have big consequences and stuff. So yeah, it gets a little bit confusing when you try to go deeper, because they just don't want to give you the answer for it, because they say they can't, but you know. Gray says, I do feel sorry for Casemiro slightly. Played in the midfield 3 at Madrid. Comes to United. Eric Ten Hag played in the midfield 1 and be a controller, and now has to play in a high energy pressing double pivot. Well, yeah, I mean, but that is football, you know. It's a little bit cutthroat, you know. Could be the most wonderful thing ever. It could be the most unfortunate thing ever. A little bit like life. There's highs, there's lows, and everything in between. And I don't got anything against Cass. I don't hate Cass. I like Cass. I thank him for what he did in his first season. And I think it was pretty important for us. But it obviously it's just evident that the guy can't run anymore. And we need to move on. But I respect Casemiro. He's won everything. He's a fantastic player. He has a fantastic career, and no one's going to be able to take that away from him. And just because we say he needs to go because he can't run anymore, he don't got legs, like, that takes nothing away from him as a player and his career. So Gray says we don't need a big summer, just 2-3 quality signings and 2-3 players out. Well, I mean, you're not necessarily wrong. I would like a good 4 players to progress the building of the squad, because We had 5. We got 6 now. We get 4. That's 10. That's a whole outfield. And we've done it in 3 transfer windows. You pretty much got a whole new starting 11. Barring the goalkeeper. So you got a new starting 11 in 3 transfer windows. Which is great for the project. And I would like to see some more players go as well. I would like to see maybe at least 4 players moved on if we can. So yeah, but it depends obviously who we sign, who we sell, how much we pay, and what we give them. Because if we do 2 or 3, but depending on the quality and what it is and what we're paying and what the wages are and who the player specifically is, obviously those determine the factors as well. So I don't. That's why I said I don't want to say you're wrong. I just I'm a little bit greedy at times. I always want more. But yeah, it could be good as well, Gracie. Could be good as well. 2 or 3 quality signings, 2 or 3 players out could be good as well. Could be good enough. Obviously we have to see what happens. Grace then starts listing players, saying Cunha, Frimpong, and Edison in, Rashford, Casemiro, and Anthony out, and that would be good. That I think that would be good. Obviously, if Ruben Amorim wants Cunha, Frimpong, and Ederson, and they fit the system and they have the correct profile and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean that would be pretty good summer. I would take Cunha, Frimpong, Edison. Although, I mean, you bringing in Frimpong, what's gonna happen to Delo? But yeah, I mean, getting Rashford, Casemiro, and Anthony out, and probably throwing Luke Shaw there, or Malacia, yeah, I mean that would be a pretty good window. I would be pretty happy with that. So, Richard says PSR should never have been brought in. It helps no one. You know what? I actually don't like the aspect that PSR favors selling the homegrown kids. I think it's I understand why they put in PSR, and PSR is basically just like a salary cap in a different aspect, right? They've wanted to bring in a salary cap. I don't know why they wanted to bring in a salary cap. I thought it made football kind of unique, and I don't think there was like too many examples of like top teams just going completely under. Sure, it's happened, but I don't think you could say that it was like certainly a major problem that was happening. But they wanted their salary cap. They floated the idea for years, and they did it in a way with PSR where they didn't call it a salary cap, and they didn't, they worded it differently. But essentially, that's what it is. It's a salary cap, right? And that's what they wanted to do. And I dislike that because I think it makes it almost like Americanizes it, right? Because everything in American sports is a salary cap. And football was never like that. And that's what I liked about football, which was unique. It was different. It was, and sure there's reasons for it. I'm sure there's good reasons for it and stuff. But what I particularly don't like is that the way that they made it and the way that they made it favor for clubs to sell homegrown players because they benefit more financially, I think is a very bad aspect of the whole thing. Because essentially what you've done is you've incentivized selling these young homegrown players for money. So it's just become almost the equivalent of like prostitution in a certain way. Not exactly, but you know what I mean. Like it's become more about money instead of like trying to develop the player, grow the player. You're taking away from the game. You're taking away from clubs. Some clubs might be in a position where they would never sell that player, even if they were in a little bit of financial trouble. They would still hold on to it. But now you make it like you almost like push them in that direction. Like, just do it. Just do it. Like it's almost like peer pressure. Just sell your top players so you could get out of this financial situation so we don't absolutely, destroy you and negate and give you negative 15 points to start the season or something. So I don't like that aspect. Richard says, I like Rashford, but I'm speaking in purely footballing terms. I think everybody, I mean, well, not everybody, but I think we all speak in football terms. I don't think we speak on a personal level, although Grace does have her biases and agendas, but that's all right. Grace says, fans are greedy. Every season we need 5 or 6 players and spend 200 million. We can't keep doing this. Listen, I don't even think we necessarily need to spend 200 million. I would like the club to spend efficiently. I'm not too big on price tags. There's people, and I get what you're saying, Grace. Like, people come out and they're like, United need to spend 350 million this summer, and I'm like, but why? Like, we don't actually need to spend 350 million. What we need is to sign as many good players as possible that we can for a reasonable price, for a good price, and not financially fuck ourselves, and not buy bad players. That's really the main focus. So I'm greedy in that way, in that, like, I want my team to do good business. I want my team to get the right players, and I would like them to get as many as possible when they are given the opportunity. But yeah, no, you are right. Like, number one, we can't really keep doing that at this time. I mean, we can if we sort our shit out, because I mean, Manchester United makes 657 million in revenue a season, but with the debt, with all this other shit that, we're just basically burning and throwing money out the window, we end up losing. We actually end up going negative. Imagine that. Manchester United makes 657 million a year in revenue, and we report a loss of 130 million or whatever it is, because of the Glazers' debt and because of other stupid shit that the club does. And this is why I think, Ineos, whether you agree with it or not, I think Ineos have looked at it and said, well, this club is essentially self-sufficient. Like, this club can spend probably, if the finances were sorted and, bad spending stopped and the finances are back in order and we sort our shit out, Manchester United can spend 350 million every summer transfer window, just based off of what Manchester United make in revenue. And if Manchester United improve and Manchester United get better, they could probably spend even more. Because the club technically is very self-sufficient. But the Glazers' greed and robbing the club and letting it rot and driving it into the ground and just ripping it to shreds has fucked us financially, unfortunately, and has put us in a position where we have to say things like, we cannot continue to spend 200 million and getting 5 to 6 players every night. But technically, I mean, we can, you know what I mean? I skipped ahead, but Grace says Delo can play wing back still or back 3. Richard says it's a salary cap. Lion says we might need to depend on youth players coming through. We have a great crop. Might not be the worst idea mixed with 2 or 3 new signings. Well, I think we probably might have to do that. I think Amorim will probably mix it in. Just going based off of what he did at Sporting, and kind of Manchester United's current situation, and I do expect, a nice mix to come in sooner rather than later. But yeah, and also, just to that point, we got to be a little bit cautious because, again, I still think that Ineos and the club are probably going to try to do some things that aren't going to go down fairly popular with the fan base. Like, there is a potential that we still end up selling Garnacho at some point. If it's not in January, it could be the summer. They could sell Kobe Mainu, even though they shouldn't, but they could. If they get an offer. Another one that we have to watch now is Toby Collier. I mean, Toby Collier is getting more involved. He's playing good. He's offering something to the squad. He's one that seems like he's going to grow into a bigger role in the first team and start adding some more value. And, if he does that and he becomes quite important, there's going to be more interest in him, and he's pure profit as well. Wait, is he? Because we got him from... Is he considered homegrown? Didn't we get him from Brighton like a few years ago? I'm sure he's considered homegrown anyway, but yeah, I mean they would sell him for pure profit. So I'm a little bit concerned. I am. This part I am concerned about from the club, because I don't like it. I understand why they're doing it. I understand what it does for the club. I get it. Again, it doesn't feel right to me as a Manchester United fan. I don't agree with it. It feels wrong. It feels anti-Manchester United. I just don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me in my stomach, in my gut. It doesn't. And I also have this fear of, like, if they do it once, then they'll do it again. Especially if the fans allow it. You know what I mean? Like let's say they go to sell, let's say they don't go to sell Garnacho anymore, right? And let's say we get to the summer and they've decided we're going to sell Kobe, because we could get a much higher fee for Kobe, and there's more interest in him, and we can definitely, like, use that money, right? And let's say the fans go into an absolute shitstorm, just like really going crazy, enough to maybe make them be like, all right, this wasn't a good idea. It's very bad PR. We're getting absolutely hammered by, like, the entire fan base. We need to back off and not do this deal, right? Well, if they go to do that with another player at some point, right, they'll fucking think twice about it, because they'll be like, remember the last time we tried to do this shit and we got absolutely smacked around? Like, it's like having a kid, and you tell the kid, like, don't do that, and the kid does it, and you give the kid a little slap, right? Little punishment, to let them know, hey, I told you don't do that. Don't do it again, or you're gonna have repercussion. And that's pretty much what it is. Like, the fans are, like, slapping them in the face, be like, don't fucking do that again, or I'm gonna hit you again. And the opposite of that would be the fans just sit there and let it happen, and then the next time they'll be there and be like, well, last time we did it, they didn't do anything. The fans didn't do anything about it, so we can just do it again if we want. Not even if we need, but then it becomes if we want. And that aspect scares me, because I don't want to become... I don't want it to become a thing, and I don't want it to be a thing at the club where we are now all of a sudden... I don't want to see Garnacho end up at Chelsea and fucking playing for Chelsea and being good for Chelsea. I don't want to see Toby Collier end up at, like, Arsenal or whoever, right? And playing for Arsenal and playing good in the Premier League and running around in their kit doing things that I know that they could have done at Manchester United, and my club sold them for fucking PSR profit. So yeah. X has joined us at the worst possible time. It says no child violence. Listen, I mean, child violence, no, but discipline your kids, I have no problem with that. But to each their own. You parent your child however you want to parent your child. I'm not gonna tell nobody how to parent their child, but nobody's gonna tell me how to parent my child. Not that I have a child, but if I were to have a child, yeah. And it's all right. When I was young and when I was a kid, and I did bad things, when I was a kid. I was a troublemaker. I would get the belt. Not a lot, but I'd get the belt. 1 or 2 hits. Mainly in my butt, right? In the butt. Which would hurt like a motherfucker, and it would sting for quite a while, and you can't sit down. But I tell you what, after that happened, I would for sure as hell never do whatever I did again. Never did it again. So, it is what it is. But Grace said Eric would know about prostitution. Good for you, buddy. Whatever pays the bills. Yes, if you want to, link is in the bio. Subscribe to my OnlyFans. It's mainly just me wearing a bunch of Manchester United kits. No, I'm joking. We don't have an OnlyFans. Yeah. Bad night's sleep, I guess. No, we just put them on because we signed Dorgu. We just put them on because we signed Dorgu, and I want it to be cool today. So, Lion says, tough decisions need to be made to get us out of the Glazers shit, unfortunately. And yeah, they do. And that's what I'm saying. But I just, it's a little bit of an issue of, you know, these people are still new. I still, you know, there's a fine line between throwing 100% blind faith behind them and trying to give them, you know, an opportunity of trust and chance. And I just and the Glazers are still there as well. And I think the Glazers are a little bit, you know, I don't know. Maybe the Glazers never figured, like, hey, you know, there's, I mean, they probably, I mean, they don't even know who plays for the team. So, like, I'm sure they never looked at it like, you know, there's an 18-year-old kid there that if we played him a little bit and we sell him for 40 million, you do know that we get pure profit and we could write that off in the books. And Ineos has pointed that out. So I don't really want to go down that route because I don't trust it. That scares me. Grace says, just send your kid to United game for the worst punishment. Well, yeah, we could do that nowadays, right? And just put them in front of the TV and make them watch it. I've seen videos of that too. Where the father has like his two kids and like United just play like the worst United you've ever seen, and the father starts losing it and the kids start crying. Like, oh man. Richard says that's what's wrong. No discipline in today's society. There you go. Richard's in the other generation. He'll tell you all about that shit. I used to get caned. Yeah, done me no harm. No, I mean, listen, there's the fine line between, like, obviously, you know, nobody's advocating for child abuse. Like, you should not be beating the shit out of your child where they have, like, bruises or serious injuries, right? A little smack, a little whatever, it ain't gonna hurt them, and it pretty much sets them straight. So, you know, no one's saying throw your child through a wall. I mean, some people probably do that, unfortunately, and that's very sad that there's any parent in the world would do something like that to their kid. But unfortunately, some people were never meant to be parents, and for whatever reason, for one reason or another, and obviously they had a hand in playing that, they did become one, but they were never fit to be parents. But yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, a little bit of discipline I don't think hurts. I actually think I actually think it's needed, to a certain level, because it's just like with almost anything else. I mean, just think about people in general, right? Forget kids. Just think about, like, even adults, right? What, you know, if you could just do anything with no repercussions, there would be a certain amount of people out there in the world that they would just be absolutely taking advantage of whatever they could, you know? For example, like the difference between the females and the males, right? Like, if you're a male and you woke up to another male, and you woke up to like a large dude on the street, right? And you go up to him and you start giving him the finger and you start calling him all sorts of names and start, you know, saying shit to him and getting him in his face. Well, the repercussion to that is most likely 99% you're going to get punched in the face. Now, typically, if a female did that, the female is a lot less likely to get hit in the face. So, you know, now, if you were a male, right, and you could just go up to any person and do that without repercussion, and you know that you're not going to get punched in the face, and you know that nothing's going to happen to you, a lot more people would be doing that shit to people. But yeah. Lion says so United news. No, we've gone off on a tangent. So sometimes we just need to you gotta weave the story. Sometimes you gotta go off on a tangent, bring it back in. Grace says if I ever have a child, I'm going to call it Jim. If it's a boy, scar him for life. Can you call him Jim DeLo Sheridan? You're just gonna name him Diogo DeLo Jr. Sheridan. Jim, good strong name. Acts as a couple of Romanians traveling through Norway smacked their child in a supermarket. People reported them, and Norwegian social service. That's crazy. The whole of Romania was like, how could they do that? Yeah, that's insane. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's why you have to be careful when you're in other countries. You know, if you ever go to other countries, you might not necessarily have the rights or the laws that you're accustomed to. So you have to be careful what you're doing in certain places, in certain aspects. We don't need you to be demonetized. We're gonna get demonetized for this. Probably, actually, because YouTube is kind of soft. So you are right. All right, let's bring it back into the football. Let's bring it back into the football and let's finish up the show. What are we at? 1:46. We got about 15 minutes. Garnacho. Talks for Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea slowed down over the weekend, coming from Matt Law, DT. And the other update surrounding Alejandro Garnacho is that Napoli have informed the Manchester United that their maximum offer for Alejandro Garnacho will be £42 million plus £4.2 million in add-ons, and that's coming from Tutto Sport Football Italia. And shout out to Stephanie. Stephanie is in here as well. Glad you could join us. How you doing, Steph? How is everything? So I think, interestingly enough, I actually kind of feel like Garnacho is going to stay now, considering the fact that we did the Dorgu deal without having to sell him. And I don't think there's really, I mean, I don't really know any other permanent deal that Manchester United would actually be looking to do based on who's linked with us right now in January with, you know, only a few days left in the transfer market. So, you know, I kind of feel like he's going to stay unless one of these two teams actually put in a very high bid. But it doesn't seem like Chelsea, I mean, according to that, I mean, and they've kind of been reluctant and hesitant. There's been a lot of talk about Chelsea, but Chelsea, you know, hasn't, you know, Chelsea been talking about jumping into the pool, but Chelsea hasn't even dipped the toe into, I mean, maybe they dipped the toe, but they haven't jumped into the pool. Napoli have jumped in, or I wouldn't say they jumped in. I would say Napoli walked down the steps of an in-ground pool, and they're about halfway. They're midway. They haven't fully submerged themselves into the pool. So and based off of this, I don't think that they're gonna go full in. So I think that there's no deal there. And and it seems like unless Chelsea have a spontaneous moment, I just don't get the feeling that Chelsea are actually serious and that they're gonna offer 60 plus million or more for Garnacho, which, and also I think there's the aspect that Ruben Amorim has been showing lately that he wants Garnacho to stay, and that he would like to use Garnacho because there's the clear and obvious players that he has already deemed not usable. And he won't use them. Casemiro is one, hasn't played for 14 matches. Marcus Rashford is obviously the other one who can't get into the matchday squad anymore. You know, so Anthony was also one who was kind of there, makes a little bit of a cameo just because we don't really have another option on the wing, but like, you know, and he was probably kind of doing his thing in training, but he wanted him out as well. So I think the fact that, and you could argue, yeah, we're short on positions and whatever, and fair enough, but I I again, I've been arguing this. I think he's young enough that Ruben can get him to fit the system better. And there was a report that Garnacho's sort of attitude has changed a little bit. In the training and stuff. I guess since he got dropped from the matchday squad, and that Amorim has seen this and is more willing to want to keep him. So, and Grace says Amorim. Wait, Ruben Amorim, Ruben Amorim. I like that one. I don't know who made that up in the fan base, but they were chanting it, and I like it. Good one. A good one. Steph says Garnacho ain't going anywhere. Now, if you were from New York, you would have said Garnacho ain't going nowhere. But yeah, take that, Chelsea and Napoli and bloody Ineos. Steph said he's not going anywhere, so guess what? He's not going anywhere. Is anyone else as sick of United transfer windows? I just wanted to end. Kind of. I mean, I mean, to be fair, it does get dragged out way too much after a certain period of time. I mean, this month has felt like 7 months. Just with the amount of just news and back and forth. I really get sick and tired of kind of the bullshit stories. I get sick and tired more of the media standpoint. I get sick and tired of hearing for 2 weeks straight that Manchester United are struggling with PSR and FFP, and then literally the next day, all of them turn around and they say Manchester United are signing Cunha for 70 million in the January transfer window, and it's like, you just fed us stories for 2 weeks about how we are financially fucked, and we're treading heavy on PSR and FFP. And today, you're telling me that Manchester United are going to sign Cunha for 70 million out of nowhere. And where are we getting this money? And what has happened to the PSR that you've been reporting for the past 2 weeks? So I get tired of that aspect. That starts getting on my nerves. As we go through it. The misinformation, and the fake stories and stuff like that. That stuff gets on my nerves. So I do get tired of it eventually. But, it is what it is. Steph says, wouldn't deal with Chelsea, full stop. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Gray says it. Oh, wait, that was the one I just did. Steph says, agree, Grace, need to fast forward to deadline day, 6 days time. Yeah, so we can finally just move on and focus back onto the football will be good as well. Although our football hasn't been great, so maybe, Lion says, so me and my brother were trying to figure out what the fudge Snapdragon is. What the fudge is it? I'm probably going to be wrong about this. I tried to look them up. I don't know exactly what they do. It's something, I believe, with the word called telecommunications of some sort. They're some sort of a technology company. I don't know if they make microchips or something like that. It's something to that aspect. I'm sure somebody in the chat probably has a greater knowledge than that. But yeah, I looked them up one time. I read a description of it, and I was just like, yeah, not interested, because I was like, you didn't even describe it to me like a 12-year-old. So how am I supposed to understand it? Ray says, what the fuck is that singing? Where's the passion? I'm not a singer, okay? I'm not a singer. So, like, it's a little bit flat, all right? I'm sorry. Also, I wasn't too sure on the words, so I was lacking confidence. See what happens when you lack confidence and knowledge? So how do you want our players to play? I can't sing. Lyle, there you go, Lyle. Snapdragon is a suite of system on chip, SoC, semiconductor products. So yes, microchips. I was there. Products for mobile devices designed and marketed by Qualcomm. Yes, they are. You sound like an advertisement there, Lyle. But yes, again, Lyle coming with the good information. Snapdragon system on chip products typically includes a graphics processing unit, which is a GPU, yes, a global positioning system, which is a GPS, and an optional cellular modem integrated into a single package. Now you really sound like you sound like you're trying to sell me Snapdragon. I might have to buy some. Steph says road to nowhere via anywhere. Yeah. Lion says Garnet ain't going nowhere. Bada bing, bada boom. And Ax says, yeah, it's the processor in your smartphone, most probably. Grace says, isn't Snapdragon a Chinese restaurant? I mean, if it isn't, it should be. And we may have to open one after that comment, because if I'm going to get Chinese takeaway and the place is called Snapdragon, you've piqued my interest. The Red Dragon. Get your dumplings. Even Richard is getting involved in here, saying Snapdragon with the little R. Processors benefit from leading camera technology that can capture AI-powered night shots, smart cropping, segmentation. I feel like you got that from Google, Richard. Am I wrong? Wikipedia, baby, says Lyle. Yes, all good for the internet. Big Brother is watching you. We are watching Manchester United. Says Richard. Stephanie says, I like McCann chips. Other oven chips are available. But let's get into this. I mean, this took a while to weave, and that's my fault because we just got on a tangent. But I felt like being a little bit more fun and a little bit more silly today with the show and not being so serious. And Richard says he did get it from Google. Fair enough. I would have to get it from Google as well because it just sounded like a Google description, though. But yes, let's talk about this and let's get on to the big Rashford debate and we'll end the show. So in Nkunku, this was the update that we had before we went live. Not much detail, but Manchester United are still in contact with Chelsea for Christopher Nkunku. I want to give my opinions on this. Listen, I don't necessarily really want Nkunku. I believe, number one, I think he's flopped at Chelsea. I also don't think he's the same player that he was, you know. He's not Leipzig Nkunku anymore, right? And he's very injury prone. So those things make me not want him. Now, for the circumstances that Manchester United are in, we've loaned Anthony out. We need to get Rashford out. If we can get Casemiro out, great as well. But that doesn't really have anything to do with the upfront positions. And Nkunku can play in that 10 behind the striker. He can play there. And I would take him on a loan, but only a loan, and only just to add any potential depth. Because at this point, I would take Nkunku on loan over nothing. But what I absolutely don't want from Manchester United is to sign him on a permanent deal in any way. I don't care if it's for a packet of crisps. We should pay absolutely nothing because that's a bad deal. He's clearly injury prone. And as of late, he hasn't even been getting into the Chelsea squad, not because he's been injured, but because he just isn't good enough and he can't get into the squad. So I want Manchester United to stop doing this. And other Premier League clubs should probably stop doing this as well, because Chelsea have been ripping Premier League clubs off in the past few deals that they've done. Just taking money from rivals in the Premier League for flops and finished products that they obviously don't want and they know that aren't good enough, and getting rid of them and selling them to Premier League clubs. And the last deal we did for them was Mason Mount, and it was a bad deal because We paid 50 million for a player with 1 year left on his contract, and he is injury prone. And has essentially, unfortunately, because I still think he's a good player, he's useless to us now. And this is a player that everybody knows is injury prone. You can go look at his injury record, and we should stay far away from any type of a permanent deal, 100%. But what I will do is take him on loan for the next 6 months to finish the season, add some depth, and maybe he could provide some things if he stays fit. I would take that over nothing, because I feel like there's nothing really other than that, past that. And if that means that we get to keep Garnacho as well, and we have to loan in Nkunku, then that's fine. I said this the other day in one of the shows that, you know, Manchester United, there was a piece of news saying that Ineos were looking, they wanted to do permanent deals. They wanted, you know, long-term options. And it sounds nice on paper, because it sounds like, you know, you're being thorough, you're being strong, you're being competent. But I said, yeah, obviously do those deals, because that's the deals that you want to do, and that's what we want. But in actuality, you know, considering that we have some sort of a financial problem, we should be looking to mix it up. You should be doing a deal like Dorgu, and then, you know, okay, Nkunku maybe isn't the ideal loan candidate because of his injury status, but, like, you know, if there's a player that can add some depth or some value for the remaining of the season, yeah, it doesn't go into the long-term project, but we still need some immediate help. And so you should probably mix it up with, you know, I was advocating for 2 permanent deals, Dorgu and somebody else, and then maybe like 2 loans, and that way you get 4 players, and you'll have an immediate impact on the season. So, you know, and the chat is probably coming after me today, but and Lion says, so after all that, I still don't have a clue. I was gonna say that. I was like, you guys are saying a bunch of things. I was like, you're gonna have to break down what those things means, because I don't think Lions is gonna understand that terminology that you guys are speaking. Steph says, snap, crackle, and pop dragon is a cereal with real heat. Ooh, interesting. We gotta write these down, because if the channel becomes absolutely massive, we can start selling these things. Although we would get absolutely sued into oblivion for snap, crackle, and pop. Well, actually, no, because we changed it, right? So play on United. We'll use like a fake Snapdragon logo of some sort. We'll mix it. We'll mix the United logo with the Snapdragon logo and make it into a custom logo, and then sell that. Yeah, that's good. Somebody write this down. Well, we have it on video, so we could always go back to it as well. Grace says, Eric don't know what McCain chips are. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. We don't have those here. So I have no clue what they are. If you want to enlighten me to what they are, I mean, I'm gonna go Google them after the show now. But yeah, if you want to enlighten me to what they are, I'll take your enlightenment. Axe says Nkunku not made for EPL. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, same thing for like as Timo Werner. They were good in the Bundesliga. Even Jadon Sancho, to a certain extent, I would argue, good in the Bundesliga. Come to the EPL, not hitting, not doing what you were doing, you know, in the Bundesliga. You're not doing it in the EPL. So, Gray says Nkunku is injury prone. He's perfect for us. Well, yeah, I mean, you're going based off of that, 100%. Line says Palmer is keeping him out of the team. I don't think that makes him a bad player. I mean, but he can't even, like, I mean, is he even being used as a sub? Because this is what I'm hearing from, you know, well, the internet. But lots of people are saying he can't get into the team. Like, you know, he's been available to play. So I don't know exactly what minutes he's getting, but the way they're saying it is like he's not even getting bench minutes. Gray says Luke and Mason will be delighted. Yeah, they can all like go together to the hospital or to the treatment table. The more the merrier for them, at least. Steph says if Casemiro and Rashford are moved out in January, I will be doing cartwheels, big wages off the books. I think a lot of us will, because it's significant, not even just for the big wages off the books, but it's significant in the club actually moving forward. You know, moving on players that, in the past where, and not the same players, but just in the past in general, like players that needed to be moved on, should be moved on, and they ended up not being moved on, and they ended up being forced to be used in the squad under a manager, and it would be a real indication, in my opinion, of a big change that, like especially right now, whatever opinion you hold of the thing between Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim, there is like a bigger thing going on there. I mean, it is sort of a dynamic of player power versus the manager. And in the past, we all know how it went, that the manager would have been thrown under the bus and the manager would have been forced to lose that battle one way or another. Um, and the fact that Ruben Amorim has made the decision that he's had, and he has, the balls to stick to what he's done, being as new as he is, it would be significant if he ends up going, because it's just a statement for the club that things are changing. Some for the good, maybe some for the bad, but things are changing, and then that is, change has to happen. It needs to happen. So, yeah, the injuries worry me, but if we take him on loan and we, our hands are not tied to him in any way other than the loan, then I think the loan is fine. It's not ideal. I would, I don't know what other people are available for loans, but obviously, again, better, in my opinion, better than nothing at that point. Richard says we should have never paid that money for Mount. I mean, again, the previous regime, you could say that for a lot of players. We should have never paid a lot of money for a lot of players. And this is why, in the beginning of the show, I said, I don't care what opinion you have of Ineos and what you dislike them for or like them for or whatever. And I just say, let's just be fair. Like, if you're mad at them about ticket prices, fair enough. Criticize them for it. If you don't like the fact that they're trying to sell Garnacho, fair enough. Criticize them for it. But let's be fair. And I think they've done a good job with the transfers in and even some of the transfers out. But I think they've done a good job with the transfers in. I think they're paying good fees. I think they're giving good wages. And I think they've gotten good profile of players in. So I think they deserve credit in that aspect, because I don't think we weren't doing deals like this prior to them. So in terms of the new hierarchy that we have in that aspect, they are doing a good job and they should get credit for it, just like they should get the criticism for the bad shit that they do. Laz says that he forgot about Mount. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget about Mount when he's not available for 80% of the season. You forget that he's even a player for Manchester United. And I think we forget, he holds our number 7 shirt. I think we should take it away from him. Although I feel like if you do that, that does spell the end for him. But I think he needs to be moved on anyway. But he holds our number 7 shirt and he's not available for like 85% of the season. So it's like, but so Chelsea screwed us big time. Nkunku might be Mount 2.0. I'm not 100% against the deal. But yes, it is a gamble. That's why a loan could work better, not permanent. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the sentiment. Like, I would listen to me. If I wake up tomorrow and Nkunku is a permanent deal to Manchester United, I will absolutely rant, rave, and lose my shit, because I think it's a terrible deal. A loan deal is not bad because it's nothing permanent, and we need some depth, right? So, in a sense, beggars can't be choosers, but it doesn't damage us permanently in any way, right? We're just paying a loan fee and paying the wages, but that's not like monumental. Monumental would be paying 30 million, 40 million, or whatever they want for him, paying it, and knowing that he's injury prone, and then literally coming to us and then going MIA like Mason Mount or Luke Shaw. That I don't want that. And I know it's gonna happen if we do it, which is why I will lose my shit. So, Defoe has retired, unfortunately. Oh man. Oh, because Richard said Defoe not permanent. Defoe not permanent. He was saying. Grace says all Americans know what chips are, considering they're all 100 pounds overweight. Well, we know what potato chips are, but we don't know what that specific chips are. And then also I know that you know, in the UK and I believe the UK, yeah, fish and chips. The UK and Europe, chips are actually French fries or potatoes, right? So yeah, but that's another topic for a different day. Maybe we could talk about it in the Discord, Grace, as to why Americans are overweight. Because that's a whole black hole that we would go into. Steph says, I heard Lindelof is almost fit again. He is. You heard right. Can't we sell him? He won't he won't get game time. He might get game time. I don't know. He might not. Fair point. He might not. But he might at some point. You never know. What if Delic gets injured? You know, what if Maguire gets injured for quite a while or something like that? You know, we may have to use him. But that's not why I would say let's keep him. I just think that there's not really interest in him. And if I'm not mistaken, he can go for free in the summer. So, yeah, I think we're just gonna let him go. You know, we're obviously not giving him a new contract. And it doesn't seem like there's been no talk about Lindelof having any interest from anybody. Like the entire January, and that might be because he was also injured, but I don't know. But yeah, that's Richard says we have a few actors in the United team. I think we certainly do. And not in a good way either. Elias says Lindelof will break another toe as soon as he is on the cusp of leaving. He has 9 more to go through. So, yeah. Steph says, talking of actors, I saw a film the other day called The Killer, featuring Eric Cantona as Paris gangster kingpin. Very good film. Really? Why have I never heard of this film? And it was from 2024. I feel like you should get more publicity for this stuff. Now I'm gonna have to watch that at some point. Yeah. The chat is just skipping like crazy, and it's pissing me off because it's slowing down the show. Because I need to read these. I keep losing my plays. Elias says, give the 7 to Garnacho ASAP. I mean, well, that was the argument that we wanted, right? And we all kind of thought that he should get it at that one season, and they gave it to Mount instead. So, you know, give it to somebody that's influential. Give it to Garnacho, give it to Ahmad. I don't know, somebody that has some potential and that actually plays and is actually available. Pressure is mounting literally on our number 7. That's a good one. Gotta bounce. Catch you later, legends. Well, see you later, Steph. Thank you for stopping by. And thank you for updating us on the likes as well. It was a good chatting with you. And we'll see you later. And we'll talk to you later. Take care, Steph. Yes, you call our potato chips crisps. Yes. I know this because of Malta. It's kind of similar. Well, we were a British colony. Or we were under British control. So we do have some British influence over there. So, yeah. If I wasn't if I was pure American and I had no, I had no background on my heritage, I probably wouldn't know these things. But I'm a fairly, Yeah, I'm fairly aware of that. Well, it's fish and chips and not fish and fries. Just saying. Well, yeah, 100%. Ridwan says, um, even over here, even in America, you go out to dinner somewhere. They serve. It says fish and chips, but the technical term, when we say chips, we're talking about like Pringles and whatever else. When you say you want UK chips, we say give us French fries and a burger. Um, Richard says I am 310 pounds. That's what Guinness does to you. That is what Guinness does to you, or any other beer, but especially Guinness, because Guinness is a heavy beer. So that is fair play. Ridwan says no one deserves the number 7 shirt. In fact, the number 7 shirt needs to be retired. Ooh, spicy and controversial from Ridwan. Say not only saying that no one deserves the number 7 shirt, which fair play, I could agree with that to a certain aspect, and there's probably an argument for that. But then it goes on to say that the number 7 shirt needs to be retired. I haven't heard that one. That one is a new one. That one I think if you put that on social media and you had a fairly large following and it would get, a lot of interaction, that would divide the fan base more than Paul Pogba coming back to Manchester United for a third time. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get it. But I don't know. It would feel wrong if we retired it and took it out of rotation. I think we need to continue the legacy. Obviously, right now is not the period probably to continue that legacy. But I feel like the number 7 shirt is got to live on. Grace says she's half British and half Portuguese. Are you really half Portuguese? Or are you trolling because of Delo? Because that would explain your Delo. But then it wouldn't explain your disdain for Ruben Amorim. I thought the Portuguese support the Portuguese. How can one be half British, says Lions. I don't know. You gotta figure that out. Well, you can be. Wait, why can't you be half British? You're 50% British, 50% Portuguese. Why can't you be half British? Am I missing something? United does well with the number 7 consistently in the team. I mean, it's ingrained in our history. That's why I wouldn't. I don't know if you can. I don't think you would retire it. Its history is. I feel like it's too great to retire it. It's too. It's too ingrained in the club to retire it. And plus, not for nothing. This ain't the NBA or the NFL or something. Oh, yeah, mom's British and husband is Portuguese. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Britain is Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. We're getting into semantics now. All right, let's finish the show. We're going to Rashford. I don't know what I did here. I skipped. Don't read that. See what happens. All right, Rashford. Now, what we didn't talk about, and I had to bring this back in. Ruben Amorim gave this comment when we were live, and I'm surprised nobody caught on to this when we were live during the Red Devil recap. But to be fair, I didn't even know. But to be fair as well, I was doing the show, and I'm preoccupied with the chat and stuff, so I can't always see the news as we're live. But he came out with this bombshell of a quote after the match against Fulham, saying... he was asked about Marcus Rashford and said, if things don't change, I will not change. And he said, I will put the goalkeeping coach, Vital, who is like 53 years old or something, before I put a player who does not give the maximum every day. I will not change in that department. This quote has created an absolute shitstorm within the United fan base. There's Rashford FC, as I would mostly call them. For the most part, I don't like to fit everybody into one category. Fair enough if you if you don't like the comments or whatever. But online, certainly there is Rashford FC, and then there are people that are backing the manager. And again, we find ourselves in the situation where a lot of the fan base is taking a player's side, and a lot of the fan base is taking the manager's side. I've gotten involved in this as well because I can't stand these big accounts on social media that have hundreds of thousands of followers putting out propaganda for a player that I truly believe is not giving maximum effort. And I've seen it on the pitch. And I obviously don't see what happens in training, but I can only make an assumption from if you're not putting maximum effort on the pitch, then there's probably a low chance that you're putting maximum effort in training. And I do believe the manager in this point. I don't really see a reason as to why he needs to lie about Marcus Rashford at this point. He was new. There wasn't any previous of a relationship, and I think that Ruben Amorim has a certain, standards and morals that he explained to us from his very first interview before he even took charge of the squad. And he said these exact things about players, and he said it doesn't matter what player it is, but you need to play for the team, and you need to run, and you need to do certain things. And if you don't do these things, you will not play, and you will not be part of the squad. And I will support him in that he is sticking to his word, and he is sticking into what he believes in, and what he demands and what he requires for his team. Did he need to make these quotes? Not necessarily. I think he's been trying to keep it fairly on the wraps. Now, I don't know what the reason necessarily was behind these quotes. I don't know if something's happened behind the scenes that has pushed Ruben Amorim over the edge. I don't know if he said it because he's trying to get Rashford to get off his ass and move. Because Rashford is pretty much holding up everything because he's decided he wants to go to Barca and is holding out. Or maybe he got tired of being asked the questions, and I don't know how many times he's tried to make it as clear as possible that Rashford isn't giving his maximum effort, and that's why he's not in the squad. And he's just gotten fed up with being asked about Marcus Rashford and maybe tried to make it as more clear as possible, which in reality, it's a harsh statement, but I'm not, angry about it because I think he's telling the truth and I back him for it. So I understand if people don't like the aspect of it. I guess I can't, there's a better word for it, but I can't think of it right now. But, I understand if people don't feel like that he necessarily should have said that. That's fine if you feel that way, but I have not really a problem with it because I think he's telling the truth about the situation. And we have more updates that go on to this. I just wanted to bring this in because we didn't talk about this. So following that, Ruben Amorim's relationship, and this is from today, with Marcus Rashford has broken down to the extent that Amorim only speaks to him when addressing the Manchester United squad generally. And that's from Jamie Jackson. So, when you take that quote, this story is probably always going to come out anyway. Now, that could be true. It could be a little bit over-exaggerated, but I don't think it's far-fetched to say that their relationship is obviously probably at a point where it is broken down because they're not seeing eye to eye, and they haven't been seeing eye to eye, and obviously he's not being included in the squad for reasons. I think one of the reasons is he's not giving maximum effort, but I think there's probably also some other things that have gone on behind the scenes that they're not necessarily going to let us know. So I don't think it's far-fetched for this to be a thing, certainly. And Rio Ferdinand spoken on it as well, coming out and talking about the quotes that Ruben Amorim said. He had some things to say. And I have something that I need to say about Rio because he said this, and he said, for someone to question your application, to question you giving 100% for the team, saying you're lacking effort and taking shortcuts, that's a damning comment. There's no way back for Marcus Rashford after that. And I agree with that. I think that there is no way back for Marcus Rashford, and I think Ruben Amorim has made it quite clear after that comment, because there was a little bit of speculation, if Rashford doesn't go, we talked about it. We said, he'll probably end up back in the squad. And I said, he may end up back in the squad. But I said I also had the feeling that, um, Ruben Amorim might just not use him and kind of sort of let him rot, I guess you could say. And I think after that quote, I think it's more clear and evident that there is no way back for Marcus Rashford. And if Marcus Rashford doesn't leave, Marcus Rashford will not be coming back into the squad. So now the other thing that I don't have to bring up on the screen, but Rio Ferdinand then went on to say in the same space while he was speaking, went on to say something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, don't take it as an exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, if Ruben Amorim is lying, and I'm Marcus Rashford, then I'm going full retaliation. I'm doing a press conference. I'm calling him out, and all sorts of things. And basically, he wanted Sancho 2.0, but like on a worse level, and not in a notepad on a typed up thing, but like actually go hold the press conference and do like a live video, and call out the manager. And then that's where I question Rio Ferdinand as to what kind of United fan are you? And what is your angle? And why would you be saying that? And also, you know, when you were a player, your manager was Sir Alex Ferguson. If Sir Alex Ferguson said those things about you and they were false, I tell you what you're not going to do, Rio Ferdinand, is go hold a press conference and call out Sir Alex Ferguson. So I think that was a bunch of nonsense. I don't know why he's trying to egg on Marcus Rashford to do such things. I don't know why he's trying to, create to throw gasoline on top of the fire and make it a worse situation than it already is. And I don't know why he would say something like that. I'm disappointed in him in that. Not that Rio doesn't say some crazy stuff, and he does. And sometimes it's just like, I don't know what you're doing, Rio. But again, I got to separate the pundit from the player here. Yeah, I mean, that to me was just absolutely insane. And that's my 2 cents on Rio saying some things. Now, we got another one from Paul Scholes that came today. And Paul Scholes saying, with the way he's training, the way he is behaving, and his attitude, he is not setting a good example. The sooner he is gone, the better. And I found this to be interesting because Paul Scholes is speaking in the manner of he knows exactly what is going on behind the scenes. And he and his statement is backing up Ruben Amorim in the fact that Paul Scholes is confirming that Marcus Rashford is not training good, he's not behaving in a proper manner, and he doesn't have a good attitude at the moment, and that he's not setting a good example. And he's saying the sooner he leaves, the better, which is interesting. Now, I don't know if it's the way he was speaking. This is just a minor quote out of probably a longer form of what he was saying, but that to me reads like Paul Scholes knows exactly what's going on in the club, and he's essentially confirmed that what has been being speculated. I don't know. He could be chatting shit. I find it a little strange if he would be chatting shit. Well, not that strange, but he would just like, don't get involved then, You're doing more harm than bad to the club if you're just chatting shit. So, I find it interesting because you have one legend of the club saying that, Rashford's done, but then egging him on to go do a press conference and, throw the club into a whirlwind of fire. But then you have another club legend who's essentially come out and confirmed what Ruben Amorim has pretty much been hinting and saying for the past weeks or so, and fans have been speculating on. So, I don't know. I personally, I try to be fair, but the feeling that I get in my gut is that these things are true. And I take it from what I see from him on the pitch, from what he's been giving us over the past 2 seasons on the pitch, especially those games, those matches where he was literally walking. There was players 5 feet away from him with the ball, and he's walking and lets the player jog past him. Doesn't attempt to try and take the ball from him, doesn't try to attempt to stay in front of him, just jogs and lets the guy, like, essentially walk past him. And when I seen that, that to me is unacceptable. And I'm going to be honest, that's pretty much the main reason as to why I want him to go at this point, because and this is why I've been saying that I think Marcus Rashford needs to go, because he just seems like he's done. He in a certain aspect, he seems fed up with the situation at the club, or with his situation at the club. And to me, that's unacceptable. Listen, I loved Marcus. Listen, I like Marcus Rashford. I loved him very much as a Manchester United player. I don't hate him, right? But I'm very disappointed. I feel let down by him, and I think it's time for him to go. And I just can't accept seeing a player in the Manchester United kit walking around the pitch, and in a match, and not putting the effort that I expect every single Manchester United player to do so. And it's not a Marcus Rashford thing. If in 2 years' time I see Amad Diallo doing the same thing that Marcus Rashford's doing on the pitch, then I'm going to say that I'm going to say the same things about Amad Diallo. And if Garnacho's doing it, I'm going to say the same things about Garnacho. And if Rasmus does it, I'm going to say the same thing about him. And if Bruno does it, I'll say the same things for him. It's not Marcus Rashford the person. It's just that he's the one that's in this situation as a footballer. So, HK is here joining us late. We're just talking about Marcus Rashford's situation. And I just want to get to these through the updates of the Marcus Rashford situation before I get back to the chat, because I see you guys are sending a ton of messages. So I want to get to that. And Chris Wheeler came with an update saying Borussia Dortmund have come up with the best package if Marcus Rashford would be more open to a move to the Bundesliga. And he may very well have to be more open to a move to the Bundesliga as we get closer to deadline day, because I don't think he can stay at Manchester United any longer. I think Ruben Amorim has made that quite clear. And he can't. I don't know. In my opinion, he can't not go to a Borussia Dortmund when Barcelona aren't going to put in the offers. So sooner rather than later, I think he's going to have to go. And Chris Wheeler also saying Tottenham, West Ham, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Napoli, and Galatasaray are the clubs interested in Marcus Rashford if a move to Barcelona does not materialize. So that's quite a lot of clubs, and that's actually a lot more clubs than we were informed in. Tottenham being one, and I don't really give a shit if he gets loaned to Tottenham. I don't care. Because I just think that he can't stay here anymore. So take a loan to Tottenham, go to West Ham, go to Borussia Dortmund, go to Juventus, go to Napoli, go to Galatasaray, go to Barca, whatever it is. Best situation is for you, go play football, get out of here, go do your thing, get your career back on track, and let us, the club, move forward. And you move forward as well. So but those are the ends of the updates for that. So what were you guys saying that I missed? Axe says that Rio is right, he believes. Well, fair enough. You're talking about like the press conference thing. Or are you talking about which part, Axe, do you believe he's right, or the whole thing? Richard says, yeah, I saw Scholes. Yeah, I say that Scholesy is right. Lion says Rashford with the right mentality should have been our captain. Well, that's where I think the aspect of what Axe has said numerous amounts of times, that we didn't necessarily take care of him in a certain aspect. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. I think there is a certain percentage that you could probably put on it that we as a club did not do our utmost best to make sure that Marcus Rashford kind of stayed in a straight line. Obviously, he's a human and he's a player and he has to take responsibility for himself as well. But you know, just in the past, it would have been dealt with a lot quicker, a lot sooner, and things wouldn't have allowed to progress the way they were. It would have been addressed much quicker under Ferguson. It would have been like, you know, come into my office. You're not leaving till we straighten the shit out, and we're gonna straighten it out one way or another. Now you're either gonna go my way or you're gonna be out of the club. And if you don't go his way, you would certainly be out of the club. This has allowed to continue to bubble, persist, build. And this is because Manchester United operated poorly. We've been operating like a shit football club. And we've allowed this sort of environment to grow. And it's become a very toxic environment from both ends. So yeah. Richard says, what I do not understand is he came through the ranks. He knows United. He does know United. And that's fine, but I still think that, like, he's still a human being at the end of the day, you know. I'm sure he's got other things, you know, in personal life that maybe are influencing him or whatever it is. But you know, regardless of that, he's a human being. To Richard's point, and human beings, people are like this, you know. He's been at the club. He's been through the ranks. I'm sure there's some shit that's happened to him at the club that he didn't like. And I think just over time, his not his love, but just like he's been, I think he's been, I don't know the word for it. Like he's like he's been eroded in a certain aspect of that. Like he's become like this. I don't know if disenfranchised is the right word. His morale around the club is down, where I think it's led to a poor attitude, a poor, like, you know, there was like you could tell the younger Marcus Rashford, that was the height of the dream for him to be playing for Manchester United. And that aspect, what you're saying, Richard, is like, you know, he came through the ranks. Like, that was the peak for him. That was the dream. And, like, nothing could take that away from him. But over the period of time, from that time to now, as he's gotten older, as more things have happened as the club has fallen into more disarray, his morale has dropped. You know, and I think that's led to an aspect of, like, him caring less and, you know, just not being having the sort of attitude that he once had. You know, I do. I think that's the word that I was looking for. He's become demoralized over time with the bad things that have happened at the club, and maybe some personal things from personal life also affecting him from outside the pitch as well, which I think is what happened. So, yeah, he's from the ranks, but if you get eroded like that over time, I feel like this is the sort of things that happen. You know, it's like you working at a place that, you know, when you joined, it was a goal for you. It was, you know, an achievement for you. It was like in your mind, you know, if I can get a position at this company or whatever, then, you know, I've accomplished a life goal of me. It's a great thing. I'm on top of the world, and you go from that point, and you go 10 years down the line, and over time you start realizing, like, yeah, but this aspect isn't great, and I don't like how they did this to me, or I don't like how this went down, and 10 years later, you're not that same person. You look around the place and you're like, listen, I love this place because this is where I got my start, but it just isn't the same anymore. It's not the same. And that happens. I mean, you could turn that into, you know, a relationship aspect between two people. It's all good in the beginning, and you know, this is why people get divorced. You know, it's the same thing in a similar way. You start somewhere and it's all good for a certain amount of time. And then little by little, things start happening here and there. And when you get later down the road, maybe it builds up to a point, to a situation where it's like, this just isn't what it was. And I don't want to do this anymore. And that's what it seems like to me. I could be wrong, but that's just what it seems like to me. Lyle says that, and also Rashford with the right mentality should be chasing down. Well, go look at clips of Marcus Rashford from like 4 seasons ago. Mans was sprinting everywhere, just like giving his all, and like I just don't see that from him anymore. Over the past 2 seasons, I just don't see that from him on the pitch. So, Axe says, I guess that Scholes is just kind and humble, desiring the whole situation to end sooner. Maybe he's trying to just put an end to it as well. HK is here. HK, how you doing? Lion says he could have, should have been a legend at United, but it seems like he has let United down. But more importantly, he himself down. Well, yeah, I think he's let himself down. I think he's let the club down a little bit. But I'm going to be fair. I think what Axe says, I think the club has let him down in a certain aspect as well. In certain points throughout his career, I think he's been let down as well from a club standpoint. So, we always try to be fair here. So, HK says, just came back from filming a music video at King's Cross Station. What have I missed? LOL. I'm heading to Old Trafford next month. Well, we talked about Dorgu signing to Manchester United, so there's that. Amorim's first signing. We talked about Casemiro potentially maybe going out on loan, but there is a problem with his £375,000 a week. We talked about some other non-football topical stuff that we're not going to mention because we could possibly get demonetized, but we went off on a little bit of a tangent. Then we bring it back to Garnacho, talking about Chelsea's interests not being cooled down, sort kind of, and Napoli not willing to pay the 60 million, so maybe he stays. And Amorim using him a lot more and kind of making a statement that, hey, I kind of want this player and I don't really want him to be sold. We talked a little bit about Nkunku, because there's a potential that we may still do some type of a deal. Hopefully it'd be a loan deal and not a permanent deal. And now we're talking about Marcus Rashford, and you're all caught up. Axe says the club has let him down first and foremost. Well, that's where I think we kind of disagree. You put more of the blame on the club. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I do agree with the fact that I do think that there were certain situations and probably things going on in the background. And I just suspect it because Manchester United hasn't been operating as a good football club, and we've had other problems with players. It's not just Marcus Rashford. Look what happened to Mason Greenwood. And again, these are their own people. They're their own human beings, and they have to make smart decisions off of the pitch. But these things that have been happening recently are not a surprise considering the state that the football club is in. So I do think that, they do have some blame in it for sure. Swing and a miss. HK, I just shot a show on stage in front of 350 people. Really? Good for you, man. That's cool. That's cool. Hope it went well. And hope whatever comes out of that goes well. And by the way, we're almost at 3 hours. The show's gone on really long, but it's probably the only one you're gonna get till Sunday. So it is what it is. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have to force one for deadline day as well. So that's what I wanted to say. We will be here for deadline day. It's gonna be late. So if you're sleeping or you're not going to make it, it is what it is. It's okay because you guys are here always supporting anyway. And the support has been great. So if you can't make it for that, it is what it is. Although it may be earlier because I'm getting home at an earlier time right now, but things are constantly changing. So when we get to deadline day, they may want us to stay later and then I have to do it later. So just keep an eye out on that. We will be live for deadline day. If I'm home early, we'll be on earlier. If not, we're going to be on late. And I'm talking about probably 11 p.m. UK time, something like that to close out the transfer window. Because we got to do that. So, and another thing that I wanted to say last time, which I didn't say, is HK is actually currently working on some HK's working on some emojis for the channel, and he's doing a very good job. He sent me samples of what he's been doing. And I think you guys are gonna enjoy them very much because he's made some very good ones. He's making more still. So we are, well, he's working on that, but we got that going on in the background, which I think is going to be a good addition to the show. We got some very good ones, some ones that I'm very excited to get in here because I think they're going to be popular to use. So yeah, we got that going on, and there's no rush on that part because you know he's got other things going on. So you know, whenever he's got to do it, he could do it. That is HK, right? Because you guys, I don't know. You got one name on YouTube, you got another name on Discord, you got another name on Twitter. So you guys confuse me, but I'm pretty sure that's HK. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know, but I assumed it is HK. And I think it is HK. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure. Because I want to give credit to the right person, but I'm pretty sure it's HK. But you guys just have like you guys have like 4 different names for like all your different stuff. So like I get a little bit, but Richard says it's not, but he's behaving like a spoiled brat. And Axe says they did spoil him. They have never tried to solve the problem after. Well, you know, this is always going to create great debate. Access people say he destroyed himself with sex parties, and so well, that I didn't hear, but that's new. But where was the man management required for him? They loved him when he was selling good. Now they throw him away. I mean, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know about the sex parties, right? That sounds like some Diddy stuff going on there. All jokes. But yeah, I mean, let's just call them off-field stuff, right? And the club used to be in control of that. And maybe now times it's a little bit harder, but I would say, hey, I'm pretty sure other clubs have a good handle on it. So, you know, why doesn't Manchester United have a good handle on it? And that's kind of where I put blame on the club, is that there's definitely things that have gone on that the club just hasn't been on top of, and allowing these things, and not putting their foot down and allowing this to continue to grow. And Axe wasn't here for it, but it is that part that we were talking about earlier when we were saying, you know, if you sell a player like Garnacho and you allow it to happen, well, they look at it as the aspect of like, hey, we already did it once, so we can do it again. But if you give them a smack in the face, right? They'd be, or you know, if you go at them, right? They'd be like, well, remember that last time that we tried to do this and it didn't go well for us. And it's kind of similar to that. Like if he's doing things that he shouldn't be doing off of the pitch and the club are aware of it, but the club don't do anything to set it straight, then he's just gonna, like every other human being, is gonna be like, well, I did it last time and they didn't do anything, so why can't I do it again? You know, if he's breaking curfew and he's going to clubs when he has a match or he has training the next day, and he's staying out past curfew and he's staying late and he's drinking or he's doing whatever he's doing, right? The club know this is happening. If the club isn't doing anything to set him straight, well, then they're culpable in you know, in it as well, because that's their responsibility. Like, yeah, it's his responsibility as well, because as a professional, you know, you want your professional to be like, I don't do those things, I take care of myself. But, you know, again, they're human beings, and sometimes you need a little bit of guidance. Some people need some guidance. Some people need a little bit of direction. And the club is supposed to be the ones that provide or at least help. And you know, if they know he's doing these things and they don't do anything, then he's just gonna be like, I did it last time and nothing happened to me, so why can't I do it again? I'm just gonna keep doing it, just like, you know, most humans on the planet with anything. You know, if you go into a store and you walk behind the counter and you open the cash register and you just take the money out and you walk out and they don't call the police and they don't try and stop you and they don't do anything, what's stopping you from doing that tomorrow or the week after? Nothing. You're going to be like, I went in there, I took the money and they did nothing to me, so why can't I do it again? I'm obviously going to do it again. Because why not? There was no repercussions. Nothing happened to me. So, Line say, you say Sir Alex Ferguson would have protected him more, but you know what, Rooney was still out there shagging grannies and getting past. The real difference is that Rooney never let it affect his game. Well, yeah, I mean, that probably was one of the things that, you know, he kind of did those things, but it didn't really affect his game. But again, like, not everybody is like that. You know, and I'm sure, you know, Ferguson wasn't happy about that. And I'm sure they had arguments about it all the time and stuff. But what probably kept Ferguson off of Rooney's back even more was that Rooney was performing, and therefore, you know, Ferguson can be displeased, and Ferguson being Ferguson, he's still gonna chat shit to him, right? But he probably never elevated it because he was like, yeah, at the end of the day, he's performing for me on the football pitch, and that's all I really care about. Axe says, I think Rooney would have been worse than Rashford had it not been for Ferguson. Probably. You know, and maybe not even specifically Sir Alex Ferguson, but just like if Rooney was at the club now, at this current state that the club is in, it probably would have flew off the handles. Because I really think that there's been a significant lack of leadership and direction from inside the club, from up above, for quite some time. So I think with everything that Rooney did in the past, we had a strong figure there, and we had a strong hierarchy even above Sir Alex, and we had strong people around Sir Alex as well. You know, we had a strong club as a whole. We don't have a strong club now. So I think if you take the things that Rooney was doing then and you put him in this team, or, you know, this United, this version of United, I think it would have flew off the handle for Rooney as well. Because again, it is an environment created to allow this negative, toxic, bad shit to grow because it's not being addressed and you're not doing anything about it. But at the same time, I'm not one of these victim mentality people. Like, you are a professional footballer, you are old enough to know what you should and should not be doing. So you need to take accountability for the things and your actions and the consequences that come with that as well. So again, that's why I think we need to be even and fair-handed. Richard says, well, then we should move on, Eric. How did that work out for Jesse Lingard? Yeah. Axe actually agreeing with me, which is always a positive. Richard says, well, when I'm paying 600 pounds a time to go and watch him, and I expect to be crawling on the pitch with exhaustion because that's what I had to do for a minimum wage for 50 years in retail. No, and again, fair point. I think I really do think that, like, a lot of the things that we say, I think you combine them and there's the fair middle ground. I think the problem is when you go on social media, there is no middle ground. And so when you read a lot of people's opinions, and social media is a difficult place to navigate because there's so many people that just say things, inflammatory things, and they say things because they know they're going to get clicks, they know they're going to get interactions. Some people are trying to get paid from Twitter and et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard to find, you know, that's why it's so hard to find a genuine middle ground on social media, because it has to be like green or red. It has to be stop or go. It can't be yellow, because yellow is boring and no one's going to interact with your shit. But I do think, like, if you just stop and you take in, like, all aspects of it and you combine it into one, I think there is a fair middle ground there. And I think that's kind of what we're hitting on here. Like, Axe has one way, we kind of have another way. But I think if you combine both of what we're saying, I think there is a fair middle ground. And I think it's an accurate middle ground. I think that's where the truth really lies. It definitely blame on him, and he's done things that he shouldn't done, but I think the club has not helped the situation and probably made it worse as well. So, and things like Richard saying that, you know, he expects the player to be dying of exhaustion, so do I. And I made this point already, and I said this. I said, you know, I cannot accept. Um, I can't accept him walking around on the pitch. And it's happened more than once, and it's happened multiple times, and I can't accept that. And that greatly disappointed me, and it greatly let me down. And I'm hurt by it because he's a player that I backed, I trusted, I believed in him. You know, and while that's happened, I'm not here. You know, I don't call him Trashford. I'm not screaming, "Get the f out of my club, you like you know, I'm not doing that. I think I'm being as fair as probably less people are out there, because some people say some vile shit about him, and it's wrong, um you know, and I don't agree with it, but I'm not gonna defend, I'm not necessarily gonna advocate for somebody to stay at the club that I think it's not doing what I expect from a Manchester United player that represents the club, even if he's from the youth academy. You know, I don't know who's left us. Somebody's left us. Oh, that's Lyle. That has been, well, I'm sorry. All right, so Lyle's been working on the emojis. Wait, I don't know. I'm confused. I've been working on emojis for the channel too. All right, we're gonna settle this. Whose name is Lyrics Wonder Kid or whatever it is? Who have I been messaging? Lyric Wonder Kid. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? I should have asked anyway, but I just assumed. See what happens when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. But really, I made an ass out of me. And you. So backwards. Now I'm confused. Oh, that's you. Okay, so you're okay. All right. So I've been talking to you. All right. So I take it back. Lyle has been working on the emojis, and he's done a fantastic job. I just look like a prat. Yeah, it's my fault. But yeah, so Lyle's been working on the emojis, and he's been doing a really good job. Honestly, I thought it was HK, because as you can see, HK does like 8 million things, and he's recording like shows in front of people, and he does music videos. So I thought it was him. But it's Lyle. Which fair enough. Lyle knows how to do these things as well. And I think it's gonna come out. Yeah. It comes up as Lyric Wonder Kid as your name. So, if I saw that Lyle part, that would have made more sense. Or that somewhere. Yep. If I clicked on your name. Oh well. All right. But you live and you learn. Yeah. But so Lyle's been working on the emojis. And they're coming out very good. And I probably have to pay him for this because one, it's a good job, but also, you know, it's taking up his time. And he doesn't need to do these things. He's doing them because he wants to. But yeah, we'll sort something out. Don't worry about that. Because I believe in fair compensation. So we'll figure something out about that, because I greatly appreciate it. Because number one, you're doing something that I probably would have struggled to do with, and you're also saving me time. So and you're creating for the channel as well. So we gotta figure something out there, but we'll figure it out. And Lyle says, "Nah, bro, no payment needed. My contribution to the channel." Well, we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. Don't worry about it. I understand you're doing it out of the kindness, and you know that you want to do it. So, no, we'll obviously discuss it in private. But I'm saying, like, you know, it is what it is. But I greatly appreciate it, because it's literally it's something I probably would have struggled to do. And I probably wouldn't have made some of these ones that he's made that are good. And obviously his brain comes up with different images than I would. But I'm loving them so far, and I think they're gonna be really good. Once we get them in, and once we start using them. Which again, no rush, because it is what it is. We're still growing the channel. We still have a lot of growing to do anyway. So we just go with the flow. We go with the flow. Before we get out of here, because we need to get out of here, because it's getting late. You guys should be sleeping. Some of you should be sleeping. I don't know what the heck you guys are still doing in here. Well, I know what you do. Love the channel and you're supporting it. So, but let's just check the internet. I don't expect news because Dorgu came and they probably saved the other stories for another day. But apparently Plettigol has come out, Florian Plettenberg has come out saying, understand Manchester United considering entering the race for Matthias Tell in the event of a departure of Alejandro Garnacho or Marcus Rashford. Following Tell's decision to leave Bayern before deadline day, it's an open race, but Man United and more teams are very well informed. So, interesting development there. That's going to be interesting to the lead up of deadline day because Matthias Tell, very good young prospect. I don't know what's gone on at Bayern because I got a Bayern friend, and he has been banging on about Matthias Tell for a year now or so. And he absolutely loves him. So I don't know what's going on at Bayern as to why Matthias Tell has decided that he wants to leave. I don't know if he's not getting enough game time or whatever it is. But I do know that he is a highly rated youngster. And pretty interesting. I obviously, again, don't want Garnacho to be sold to fund this. And much rather would have Marcus Rashford go to open this up. And that would be ideal. Again, we don't need to sell Garnacho. I don't want to sell him. I don't want to do it. I believe in him being here to build the future of this club. He should be a player that stays. And if you keep Garnacho and you add Tell and you move on Marcus, I think that's good for the club. And that's a good direction to go in. So, interesting. We'll keep an eye out on that because I'm sure there's going to be some more developments. And 47 minutes ago, coming in new from a very credible source, Hearst Class, saying Casemiro rejected a move to Roma earlier in the transfer window as he wants to move to Saudi Arabia. So, whatever I said was wrong before because apparently he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. So I guess that just means that there hasn't been great interest from Saudi side. And he's rejected a move to Roma. And this is the shit. Like, we need you to go, bro. And you're over here rejecting moves to Roma. Well, where's the Saudi interest? But it kind of encourages me because he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. So I'm kind of hoping that means that he's gotten some type of contact, that there's some significant interest, that deal will be able to transpire. And hopefully, by the end of this month. Because if you're just rejecting Roma in the hopes that Saudi Arabia come and swoop you up and you got no contacts for that, then I don't know what he's doing. But for the benefit of the club, you gotta go, bro. You gotta go. And that's all the updates that we have on that. Lyle sending another contribution. Thank you, Lyle. You've been fantastic. You sent 2 super chats. Lyle saying the contribution continues. RDE community rocks. Well, the RDE community certainly does. You guys are fantastic. The support has been amazing. I should probably take these off now. Ooh, those are bright when you have the shades on. Yeah, that was a prop, a gimmick. We'll never do that again. You know when we'll do it again? When we win the Premier League. That's when we'll do it. So, yeah. Very good show. Let me just sort out the timeline because I need to sort out the timeline because I don't know what's going on anymore. So, the 31st is on Friday. So, what we're going to do is, most likely Wednesday and Thursday, unless something major breaks, like if we sign a player or something that, out of nowhere, or if Rashford goes or, whatever. We most likely won't do shows Wednesday and Thursday. And then we'll come Friday and we'll do a transfer deadline show. However many hours it's going to be, but we did one last year. It was very good. Not last year. We did one for the summer, sorry. Well, technically that is last year. We did one for the summer. It was very good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed keeping up with the news and kind of doing that deadline day sort of thing and closing it out. So we're going to do one for the January. So we'll do that on Friday. So we'll take a good 2 days off, for the very least, and that one should be a decently long one on Friday. And then we have the Red Devil recap on Sunday after the match as well. So thank you guys for supporting. Lion said I half expected you to be hiding a black eye under them glasses. No, I just did it to be a fool. I was being a fool. I was you know what? I was actually gonna wear my Man United glasses, but I didn't feel like bringing them in from the car. And then I said, let me just throw these on because today we're cool because we signed Dorgu and we've gotten Amorim's first signing. So I just thought it would be funny and a prop to throw on, and just put a wrench into the show, spice it up a little bit. Um, Deadline day is not until Monday. Since when? Does it not close on the 30 on the 1st of February? Did they change it? It's on the 3rd. Since when? I thought it closes on February 1st. Did they do this? Very Persian, very Persian line says it's the 3rd. All right, so now, well, I wish I knew that before. Again, I've made myself look like an absolute ass. This show, I just getting things wrong. So it's on Monday, on February 3rd. So that stream will be then. We're gonna do the Red Devil recap, obviously Sunday. So you'll get back-to-back streams, and then for the rest of the week, so okay, so we'll probably take off tomorrow then, unless something breaks, and then I gotta do a show when I get home. And then we'll probably do a show either Thursday or Friday. I'll keep you guys updated and posted, and obviously I'll schedule it ahead of time so you guys are caught up with all of that and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for tuning in. It was a very good show, very good discussion, very good opinions as usual. Guys, a fantastic community. I love this community. You guys are absolutely killing it. If you want as well and you want to continue what we've been doing, go under the show after I end it, leave some comments. The comments have been really good. I think they've been helping because we've been getting more views, although today we got lower views, but you can't win them all. But the channel's been doing much better in terms of reach and views, so I think it's helping. The likes have been helping and stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys want to do that, I don't know, I don't have a secret thing that I could maybe think of. Maybe we could do, I don't know if this pertains to anybody. Maybe your favorite type of car, or like your dream car. If you had infinite amount of money and you could buy whatever car you want, leave that as your PS, your secret inside show comment, and then give us something, whatever you want, whether it's about Rashford, Garnacho, Casemiro, the transfer window, the next match, whatever you could think of about United. Yeah, we could do that. Favorite car, your dream car. If you had infinite money, what would you buy? What would you have? What would you like to drive in? Maybe it doesn't pertain to you because maybe you don't care about cars, but it's what I could think of. For the Fools Club, yes. First rule of Fools Club: don't talk about the fools. Lion says it's okay, Eric. We expect nothing less from you. We're all fools. Very good, very good. All right, guys, let's go. Go to sleep. Some of you need rest. I gotta go take a shower. I didn't even shower. This is how dedicated I am. I smell bad. I gotta go shower. All right, I gotta go shower. It's almost 7 p.m. here, and I gotta wake up for work tomorrow. So, Lyle says, "Don't look too foolish. Then we step into the idiot domain." Yeah, we don't want to do that. No. Just like, jokingly foolish. You gotta play it off kind of cool, Yeah, but I'll see you guys later. Be good. Get in the comments as well if you want to, and that's been great. And thank you guys for doing that as well. I greatly appreciate that. And I really do think it's making a difference in the channel. So, if you guys want to continue that, go ahead. I greatly appreciate it. And we will see and speak to each other in a day or two's time. And until then, be good, and take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of